Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Sunday night, round one is one and done. So how good is it? How good is the footy being back? Firstly, before we get into that, shout out to all the Southeast Queensland listeners, viewers. Obviously, I've been copying a battering up here. I'm with you. It's been a nightmare. Like the cyclone might not have been what it was, but it's definitely still windy. We are copying a drenching as well. So make sure you continue to stay safe. The floodwaters are the worry at the moment. So make sure we're doing everything we can to stay safe. I believe schools are closed for tomorrow as well. So just, stay indoors as best you can. I think it's the best place to be and go from there. Hopefully this podcast can keep you entertained now for the next hour or so as well as we delve into what happened this weekend. There's a number of teams that are scratching their head, already booking their trips to Bali at the end of the year. Unfortunately, they don't even have to worry about doing much to that. But yeah, we're going with there. So Jesse's along, Jake's along. Jesse here to do the start of the podcast. Obviously, the Supercoach side of it. Before he does that, just a bit of a side note. If you didn't get 8 from 8 in tipping this week, if you didn't win a couple of multis, and if you didn't clean up on your head-to-head Supercoach wise and draft wise, you simply don't get rugby league, the greatest game of all. I think there's only one person here that deserves the light shining on him at the moment. I'm going to just take it as much as I can because I know these boys are going to be into me. They've been into me ever since I've had the off season, especially Jesse and Trav. Oh, you get everything from me. You get everything from me. Who's your daddy now, boys? Who's your daddy now? So off you go, Jesse. Let us know what happened this weekend from a Supercoach point of view. It might not be too long till I take this segment off you, actually, but let's do it for now.
That's right. Take the reins, mate. Let me go. I'll go and enjoy my Sunday afternoon. It wasn't a bad one. It was a really high scoring first round. Mate, it was massive. There was, I've seen 1400s been posted. I've seen a 1550 as well. I thought that's unbelievable. That's probably going to come first this week. I came out with a pretty respectable mid 1200 score, so I'll take that for a round one. There's a few things that I'm not a fan of, but you did really well yourself. You cracked the 13s already, so yeah, it's going to be a good start. I think a lot of our cheapy prospects went bang, which is really nice. I don't think we got too many wrong. A couple of warning signs with a couple of ones here and there, but again, early days. But no, it's good. We definitely picked the majority of the good cheapies, but we already covered Vegas last Sunday, so I'll go straight into the Roosters and the Broncos game. Smashed us 50-14. So it was just a freaking tri-fest really coming out of the Broncos. Adam Reynolds led it with a 105. Payne Haas was a monster with 104. I expect massive influx of Payne Haas owners soon. So yeah, he killed it. Walsh as well, busted his ass, got a 95. Jesse Arthurs with a 94. Carrigan 93. Cobbo 85 with a hat trick. Mate, it was a riot. They killed it. And Shibasaki too, 83 for another cheapie. So it was very impressive. The scores were good across the board, honestly. You run down, even you got your cheapies, Gajewski. Hetherington got a 55. So like the whole side did well. That Broncos team was humming. So really good things. Robert Toya, 90 points for the Roosters, which is huge for those that have played him. For a bottom dollar, 198K, that's, it's more than you can ask for. The rest as it goes down, it's just a lot of middling stuff. There's a few disappointing players. Angus Crichton, 55, not ideal. Connor Watson, 55. I suppose you'll take that, to be fair, in a game where they just got smacked. A lot of people using him for their hooker spot, which isn't too bad. Sandon Smith, 50. God knows how he came away with a 50-point game. It was abysmal outside of there, but you take that every day. Nafahu White, 43 points from a duel, pretty mediocre. Teddy, 43, really painful. He's going to come plummeting soon. His price will drop real hard. But yeah, look, outside of that, nothing else overly relevant for that team in that game. So yeah, it's going to be expecting quite a few price drops soon. But the Broncos were flying. Is there anything you wanted to touch on while I'm going through these, or just keep pumping through these games?
Keep pumping for now. Keep pumping.
Yep. The Tigers and the Knights is a low-scoring game. A couple of good scores that come out of it, though. The Knights somehow they come away with a win in this game. Marju, Sharp, Ponga, all in the 80s, 82 and 83 for the lot of them. So Best kind of buckled what could have been a really high-scoring affair for Marju and Ponga. Even himself too. Like he only ended on 40, but he could have had a couple himself. So yeah, there's a few things there that look pretty sharp for the back line and the Knights, but yeah, you'll take what you can get out of that one. Crossland 51 or 2 for a cheap side of things. Not too bad for that that hooker spot. And Dylan Lucas 75, so really handy in the centre wing dual positions. For the Tigers, Terrell May, as expected, 78 points. Pretty much banked that almost every week. It was a good affair for him. Alex Twal, 62. As a lock, started the position there. Obviously took it off Bird. Mate, he's cheaper than Seyfarth. He's a dual position. There's a chance to have a good look at Twal if he keeps that position down in the future. Jarrell Skelton, 62. There's one of your boys, Joel. He got himself a try there as well. Kind of went quiet after that. They obviously didn't score any more tries after his. So, yeah, but he looks real strong. Just a worker. So really good spot. Luai and Galvin, in their 50s, not too bad. Feel like they kind of, overplayed a little bit, sort of took it away from the back line. But, outside of that, the rest of the team, nothing too overly relevant. Seyfarth disappointing with a 36. Dewey as well, 41. So nothing too much happening there. For the South and the Dolphins, really close again. Another 2-pointer. The South beat the Dolphins again, crazy. For the Rabbits, not a massive Supercoach output for a lot of them. 77 was their highest scorer with Jai Gray. Obviously, he's going to be in there until Latrell comes back, so there's a chance to make some money in that fullback position, but probably a bit too expensive to start to look at. Kalai Matangi, 65, respectable. Munro, unfortunately, done himself a collarbone again. He's one of the most exciting prospects you're going to come across. He's so good, and he just gets so friggin' unlucky. So I don't know if we'll be seeing too much of Ty Munro this season, to be honest with you, if he keeps this just constant reoccurring collarbone issue going on. But for another cheap option, Isaiah Tass, 56. Didn't have the goal kicking, which we were expecting to get, but still 56 you'll take. Jamie Humphries, 55. Now, very appealing option here for anyone looking as a Duffy prospect to try and get away from. Depending if he can keep that spot, he was very impressive. Stocky little bastard as well. So, yeah, unit.
Good looking as well.
They've got him there at the Rabbits, don't they?
Yeah, a couple of sneakies.
Couple of cheeky ones. Talis Duncan, 49. You'll take that for sure. Hubner, beast. What a worker. 45 points from him too. Couple of lower ones. Campbell Graham, 44. Not too bad. He did 22 runs, I think he had. Really good for how long he's been out of. Long time off. He looks strong. He did his work. So I've got him in my side at the moment. And to be honest, I kind of think I'm just going to keep sticking with him and just seeing how he rolls, because it was pretty good considering he's been away for a year and a half at least. Mamazelis, 37 points, no runs. Disappointing. Not really what we wanted. So yeah, a bit of warning signs out of that one. For the Dolphins, friggin' Azarko, 96. Absolute gun. Max Plath with his second row position swap. Really impressive on the edge over there too. Still as busy as he has been in the middle, but on the side. 80 minutes, mate. He's starting to look like the answer at that hooker spot that we kind of wanted. The Hammer, 80. Herbie, 65. Tom Gilbert with a 64. Worked his ass off for that too. So he's looking like a really good, mid 400 option. Marshall King, 57. Vinafuyaki got a 48 with a HIA. And I don't know if he'll be back next week, actually, because he did fail that HIA. So bit of a shame. Going down the ranks, nothing too much going on there. So, yeah, that is Arco 96. Really good stuff.
Trav tried to tell us. Shout out to you, Trav.
Yeah,
Trav told us.
We're both super high on Azarko. He actually started with him, and I'm an idiot and took him out. So, yeah, it was massive. Man, the Dragons and the Bulldogs, 20 to 28 for the Bulldogs here. 3 tons in this game. Just mental. Tuipulotu with the highest score of the week, 128 points. That side outside of Holmes, I said it. It's going to be a gold mine. Just bring it in. Yeah, Tuipulotu is going to have a monster break even, I expect. Probably a big trade in, but they've got that round 3 bye, so it kind of hurts. Just to line up with your current cashies. Gutherson, 113. Just wound the clock
King
back.
doesn't miss.
No,
Don't ever doubt the King again.
He went nuts. Val Holmes too with a 70. Little, 69 off the bench. Freaking hell, no doubt in Little. Hey, he's an absolute goer. Too good to be on the bench, man. Way too good. They got to find us somewhere to put him, because he can't be coming off the bench like that. Toby Couchman, 69. Pretty good stuff. With a duel too, so we always knew the Couchman boys were massive. Ryan Couchman did his ACL too, I heard, so really unfortunate for that. There's a good chance they were going to get a look in this year, and it doesn't seem like he's going to now. Gula, 53, really good for a cheap front rower. Damien Cook 42, pretty low affair for him. DeBellin 40, and yeah, Leilua and Sua both in the 40 and 39, so pretty low stuff. But man, the wingers went nuts. The Dogs freaking Tupanua. God, we take this back at the Roosters, please. 103 points. He was everywhere when he come on. Yeah, I don't know what
Wind
I
back
don't
the
know
clock.
what was told. Yeah, geez, I don't know what they told him to do when he went out there, but he was
Score
just
tries.
insane. Just beat
They
everything.
said they said go out and score tries, and he did.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. Connor Tracy, 90 points. Obviously, last episode I was pretty vocal about how I'm not a fan of Tracy, and yeah, he proved me wrong this game. So did really good. Kick out 84. Pretty solid for kick out with an 84. Hasn't done that for a while. Burton 58 drops off. Preston 49. A couple of just low ones around. Everything below that, not super relevant. Reid Marnie with a 20. Stephen Crichton with a 20 as well. Not good stuff. Jesus Christ,
Reed's
this game.
back.
Reed's back with his shitters. 20 points. I suppose you can get him in a month's time for quite a low price if you want to. I still don't know if I'd want to do that. Jesus, man, this Manly and Cowboys game was a super coach's dream. So we did say start with all four of them. You'll get a good reward. Boy, did you ever. Cherry Evans, 126. There's one for you, Samantha. She loves it. A couple of these legends have gotten real hard into the Manly side, which is awesome. But yeah, 126 out of Cherry Evans. Turbo with a 113, no tries too. He's going to be in for a cracker of a year. Saab 107, Olakawatu 100. So, yep, well done. Well done, Manly. Walked all over the cows. Garrick with an 86. Sipley and Paseka in the 70s too. Like everyone was getting amongst it. It was nuts. Lehigh with a 58. It's a bit low for that kind of game that they had. Everything else in the forwards. Brooks with a 38. I don't know how he didn't get more than that in this game, considering what was getting thrown about. But yeah, really, really good show for Manly. They were an absolute class above. So one of the best performers this week for sure. For the Cows, Filea, Drinkwater, Burns, all in their low 70s. So not a bad outfit. Burns especially, he always seems to bang out a 70. When he's fit, he's just an absolute gun. Bateman, 63 in a team that got belted. Really good. Like really, really good show. 63 is solid for the 500k. You'll take that. But really disappointing for the rest of the side. Did an 18, Nanai 19, Tuolagi 23, Duffy 23. God, Reece Robson 35, Cotter 39. That's probably the worst output I've seen the Cows do for a whole season. This might be the worst game they play for the year. I would hope for them in general, but yeah, bit worrying. I don't expect them to get assaulted as hard as they did, especially when they were in Brookie. You know what I mean, against the flying Manly. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And then going into the final game, something to keep an eye on. Jesus Christ, the Eels not really turned up today, did they? They just got rolled over in about 20 minutes. Melbourne were on for it. Pappenhausen is back. I would like to say he looked insane. 133 points. Most of that was in the first half. So yeah, actually
Just to
for a lot.
clarify, it's easy to look insane when the other team just kind of like does this and says, "Here, go through, have fun."
I'm going to be keen to see how you guys talk about that game at the end of this pod. But yeah, look, it's the same thing you can kind of say with the Cows. Manly just looked ready for it. Melbourne just looked ready for it. And I don't know, man. The Eels were not there. But yeah, Pap 133, Meaney with a 99, Munster with a 91, Howarth 89, Eli Katoa 80, King 70. It was just class, just absolute class. Bit low for Hughes and Grant, 64 and 56. Hughes come off too with about 15 minutes to go, so probably just giving him a bit of a rest considering the scoreline. But yeah, no, look, pretty hard going for the Eels, man. Uto Kamanu too, 36, was really low considering his trials form. Into the Parramatta Eels, Penasini 87, so he did quite well to get that score. Dylan Brown, Iongi, just junk time, absolute junk, getting their average, which is really handy. Dylan 79 from Brown in a game like that to really rack up a lot of it right in the last few minutes. Really good stuff for him. Iongi, we kind of dodged the bullet. Got real lucky to get a 64 out of him. Hopgood 49, just all in work to very uninspiring side. It didn't really get too much of a kind of anything, no chances, very little offloads. So, yeah, as a Hopgood owner, I want to see what he does next week. So maybe something a bit better than that. Zach Lomax 47, didn't really get a chance to light it up. Williams, I thought, was quite good. Only scored 45, though. Same as Volkman, 38. Everything below that, my God. There's a few teens in there. Far out. Geimer, 23. Tuolagi, 22. Offengawi, 20. Hands with a 9, so it gave Riley Smith a bit more of a run at hooker. Still only scored 17. So, yeah, it wasn't a great day for the Eels. A few of the cashies didn't really come out like expected, but I feel like overall, especially with the games earlier in the week, we just got blessed. There's a lot of them. Really good price rises ready to kick off from this first rolling lockout week. But yeah, that's the full rundown of all the scores and everything exciting amongst it
Beautiful.
all. Love it.
What
Keen
about your
as.
quick before you go? Your quick thoughts before we get to the Wednesday show. Who's on the chopping block early, and who's not? Who you got your eye on? What's going on in that crazy mind? Because
Who are
I
you
know
rage
you've
trading?
mentioned whiteboarding. So
Yeah, so the whiteboard's out. I've got a bit of cash in the bank at the moment with a late swap. Currently on the watch list, Seyfarth. I thought was a bit boring and a bit, kind of just didn't see what I wanted to see, especially for his price tag. But there's a few around him. Gilbert's really impressive for a slightly dearer. See what happens slightly below. Maybe a real big punt with like an Alex 12 dual position, something along the lines. So Seyfarth's a bit on the watch. Um, I've got Sandon Smith and Mamazelis, my hookers. Obviously, kind of expected going cheap hooker them to be pretty rubbish, but yeah, I had low expectations, but by God, they weren't that bad. So yeah, Mamazelis more than anything, but so he's on the watch. I'd probably give Metcalf another week just to see what the Warriors can produce. I'm probably happy to give him another go. My second rowers didn't hit the strides, but I got 50s across all of them, so it's not the worst. Duffy
that's
potentially.
cute.
Obviously, it's early days. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it'll be whiteboard, Mark. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I will be trading in round 2 just to get one or two things fixed up, so I'm not having to worry about it right before the price rises. I kind of want to maximize the potential on break evens and that kind of thing. But yeah, Wednesday's going to be a funny show, I reckon.
Yes. And if you haven't, just on the break evens, we are covering them at the moment. Each and every game, we'll give you an update on where things are at. People are saying it's obviously it hasn't started yet, but we know that. We're just giving people a bit of a heads up. So far, very good responses. So if you're not following, make sure you jump over to the social media pages and get up to date sort of information there. And then if you want additional stuff further to that, you can get Jesse and Trav's thoughts almost 24/7 basically on the Legends chat, which you just mentioned there. So much Supercoach chat, it's ridiculous. So go ahead, go become a member. Definitely worth it for $2.99. But Jesse, thank you. Go ahead. We've got plenty to talk about, me and Jake. So we're going to sit down and get settled in. And yeah, who knows where this will go.
All right, enjoy, boys. I'll catch you on the next
Cheers,
one.
brother. Thank
See
you.
yous.
Jake, just on that while we get set up, how'd your Supercoach team go?
Not great.
Yeah.
I don't think I cracked 1-1, to be honest.
Oh,
I know.
ouch.
So I had, unfortunately, as we sort of talked about, I had, where is he? Luke Metcalf and Casey McLean. So I actually copped, instead of getting the flex where I get the extra safety measure, I had a 12 and a 4 count towards my final score.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's sort of, that just hurts. There's not really much you can do there. The rest of my team didn't do too bad, to be honest. Oh, sorry. And I also had Jackson Purdue. And just to let you know this, in my reserves, I had Munro and Shibasaki. So I could have gone with either of them, but no. I went with Purdue.
I did.
I don't know why I did that. I don't.
I did.
Well,
I wish I didn't. My score would be even better.
I captained Tom Torovic. So to be fair, I scored 1,206. I didn't do too badly.
That's all right. That's good.
Considering that I had McLean, Purdue, and Metcalf in the squad, so 2 scores of those were below 30 by a long shot. So yeah, to be honest with you, if I had managed to play someone else, I actually probably would have won my game. But unfortunately, it is what it is.
Very respectable. All right, NRL time. So let's rip and tear into this. So much to talk about after just one round. How are we going to do this? I'm honestly I'm not sure. We're just going to come at this and just spit some yarns with you guys and see where we go. So we're going to go through each game, see what pops up, see what doesn't. There's no real structure for this week's game. Obviously, just been so crazy where I am at the moment with the weather and stuff. Wasn't even sure if we would be able to get this one done. You can probably tell a bit of in and out. I apologize but again, hot spotting from my phone at the moment just to try and get this out to you guys. So hopefully it is good enough quality for you. First game, Roosters versus the Broncos. So the Roosters have made the list. They officially cannot win the competition in round 1 of this year's comp. Like, that's horrible. You don't want to be here in that round 1 of the competition. Now, from the Roosters' point of view, let's go into there first, because this could be a huge talking point throughout the year now, because straight away there's pressure on probably the coach, Trent Robinson, and this playing squad moving forward as well. And I guess the management side of things, because everyone has looked at this side and gone, what are they doing in terms of their recruitment? Because clear as day already, and I know they've got a couple out still, but they're going to be out for a while. They're not coming back anytime soon. So they're dealing with all this, and they just haven't been able to recruit anyone to fill any sort of position. And it just feels very odd. And the Broncos were so good, but at the same time, the Roosters were so poor. Like, if this is what we're going to get, it's a hugely concerning year ahead for the Roosters. And like, there's one or two shining lights that I will mention afterwards. But Jake, just your initial thoughts on the Roosters. I just thought they were so poor. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, no, they were definitely poor. I had big issues with like their hit and stick. Like, it felt like the Broncos were just offload after offload after offload. The ball never seemed to touch the floor. Like, it honestly felt like the Broncos were playing park footy. But the only reason they're able to do that is because Rabbitohs, the Roosters just weren't stopping them. Like, they just kept sort of letting them make those meters and just get those offloads. And then, yeah, the ball was in play all the time. In offense, I thought they looked a bit rudderless. They looked a little bit like they didn't really know what they were going to do next. And kind of the 3 tries that they did get were like quite slick, yes. But at the same time, you know, it's not really enough. The thing, I suppose, with what you said is in terms of like their recruitment, it's difficult because you have your main halfback, right? And they've just re-signed him on a big deal. So he's at the club for a long time. They're not going to sign, like, that's why they've got Chad Townsend across, is that like that leeway. He's there for a year and whatever. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that he's the solution. But at the same time, you can't sign like a big name player if they're not going to be your actual half for a long time. Like, no one's going to come across unless they're actually going to get that spot. So what do you do?
Well, you mentioned Townsend. Let's talk about him. For mine, I think it's very clear he's behind the times now. And we mentioned it after the trial game when he played, and we said that was a worry. For me, that was a huge concern because that was a trial. That's not all NRL full squads. So he should have actually been able to display a bit of skill there. He didn't. He looked off the pace. Once again, he's off the pace. And unfortunately, that's going to impact someone like Sandon Smith. And it's not fair on a young kid that's the pressure on him now. It's literally Sandon Smith and no one else, I feel like, at that team at the moment, because what I mean is in direction and stuff, because tying it in together, Tedesco was so busy, like extremely busy. But that's not a good thing for Tedesco. We've seen that in the past. No. Whenever Tedesco plays super busy like that and he's everywhere, that's not the Tedesco that was last year, who became arguably the second best player in the competition last year, consistency-wise, just behind Jerome Hughes. I thought he was sensational last year. I keep saying, I've said it to the boys whenever we speak about Supercoach, they talk about Crichton and stuff like that. I just don't think these halves can get someone like Crichton or Tedesco, all the outside backs, enough quality ball to actually be a dangerous football team this year. It's a huge concern. I keep saying it. By the time these guys are back from their long-term injuries, they're going to be out of the running of final series already. And it just makes me feel like, has the shining lights that Bondi used to be, have they dulled a lot? Because I don't feel like there's any quality arriving there anytime soon. Like, the Dave Fafita situation keeps hitting me in the face because he literally turned him down. He embarrassed him in a way, and that doesn't happen to the Roosters, but it has. And from that, they literally signed Chad Townsend, and that's it. And they've lost so much quality.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest talking points this preseason was, who have they got? What do they have coming in? And the answer was pretty much nothing. You're right in the sense that, like, you know, all the jokes you hear about, oh, they've got a brown paper bag, or, you know, they got the salary cap sombrero instead of having a salary cap, you know, like, you're right. They haven't signed, like they don't look like they're a destination place anymore. You know, what sort of drew people across was not only the fact that they're going to be living, you know, like near that sort of Bondi area and in that good location. It's just that they sort of had that idea that they were going to win footy games. And at the moment, you're going across, so you want to make that signing. It's not looking like, hey, we're going to have this sort of instant success like you expect. It just doesn't look like that anymore, to be honest.
No, it doesn't. Bright light for the Roosters. I do want to talk about him, Robert Toya. I thought he was absolutely class. Let's just set the stage here. A rookie, or effectively a rookie. One of his first games in first grade, playing for a team that got absolutely dominated in the outside backs. I thought he was so classy, and not just his runs and stuff, but just how he was carrying his life. He just looks like he belongs in that stage. I know he's had a horrible injury run over the years, and there's reports we would have seen him at least 2 years ago. He's that good. I now understand why he all of a sudden it felt like just shot out of a cannon here at the Roosters, because he from the week, I can't wait to see him play in a team that's on the front foot and they're actually look like they're running downhill effectively, because if that's what we'll see from him in a team getting smashed, wow, we could be talking about a young superstar.
Oh yeah, look, that run that he did where he made that full length try. The first try that came to mind that reminded me of that was that Katoni Staggs one that everyone replays on all the time, where he does that massive fan, knocks someone over, and runs a whole sort of distance. Toya reminded me pretty much of the exact same. He's big, he's built, and he doesn't seem to make terrible defensive decisions like some of those types of centers, like actually a lot of centers in the game, to be honest, just make poor decisions. It just didn't feel like he was making terrible decisions all game. Obviously, tries were sort of scored, and they got sort of flogged. But you're right. When they're on the front foot, he's going to be your go-to guy. He's going to be that one where you put one person in front of him, they're not stopping him that close to the line. Like, he's gonna get over. He's just got that bulky sort of frame for it. But in the same capacity, I wouldn't mind bringing it up, is his center partner, and I cannot pronounce it, so I'm not going to attempt it because I don't want to make a fool of myself. Nwanga Wingatasi. Oh, nice. Okay. Nwanga Wingatasi. I thought that he did just as well. Sorry, maybe not just as well, but I thought he was solid. I don't think he reached Toya's sort of standing in that game, but I will say this. I thought that he did his job. He wasn't really given, like you were saying before, he wasn't really getting given quality ball. He was getting given hospital balls where he had to sort of deal with it after he got it. And I thought that he did a good enough job of doing that anyway. Like, I thought that he did a pretty good job overall. So I thought both centers did a good job. And I think that this is something you're probably going to bring up, but Billy Smith is going to have to fight his way to get into that spot.
100%. So I think basically what we're trying to say is here, the forward pack struggled a lot, and the halves struggled a lot as well. So let's talk about the Broncos. Sorry, before we move on, just one thing about Trent Robinson, and I'll put the post out there as well. I'm not just going to talk about if he's on pressure. One thing I didn't like in his press conference, how he basically said he was happy with the effort. He was happy with what his team produced in a way, and he wasn't panicking, stuff like that. Your team just had 50 put on him. They got absolutely lapped and didn't look anywhere near a first grade football team for any time of that I don't get what he was trying to say there, because I think that's a dangerous way to go down. Because look, he may have gone in the sheds and absolutely drilled the crap out of him and then came into the sheds and said that publicly. I don't like that, because if I'm a Roosters fan, and we're going to say this later on being Para fans, but if I'm, say, Jesse, for instance, if I watched that press conference and that's what my coach said, I would be livid. I would be going, I want you to come into this press conference. I want you to tear the house down. I want you to say how embarrassing it is. I want you basically to apologize, because that display was nothing short of not first grade standard, in my opinion. You can't walk in and go, oh, yeah, I'm happy with the majority of what we produced. Like, no.
Yeah.
It just felt like, in a way, they went down from what the Roosters level is, from what we've expected for them for so many years. It was like they've all of a sudden said to themselves, yeah, we're rebuilding and it's acceptable. I just didn't think we'd ever get to this spot with the Roosters.
Yeah, well, when was the last time you saw the Roosters have a score like that put on them? First of all. Yeah. And second of all, how much does him saying the effort was there remind you of a certain somebody from last year that we're very familiar with, who now has found himself not out of a job. He has a job, but it isn't where he was. Talking about Brad Arthur, after every flogging, the effort was there. The effort was there. The effort wasn't there, and it wasn't there for the Roosters either, to be honest with you. And so you're right in the sense that I think that he needed to come out. But if he would have absolutely gone at him in the sheds. No, if he didn't, he's done something wrong. And I think that when he came out publicly, he should have said, "This isn't what we. This is like we didn't do what we trained for. We didn't do what we should have been able to do, and we're going to come out and try and do better next week." And that's the honest truth. I think your fans will appreciate more that you're coming out and going, this isn't ideal. I understand that, but we can do better, and we will do better.
Yeah. No, I agree. On the Broncos, goodness me, the mighty Broncos returned, didn't they, in a very big statement to not just the Sydney Roosters, but to this competition, because anyone doubting him this year and doubting that partnership between Madge, I think that has shown that at least early on, it's going to work. It's going to work brilliantly, and it's exactly what this club has needed for a couple of years now since their grand final appearance, obviously. I'm going to make a huge statement out here, and I think that's the best we've seen the Broncos look even in that year. Like, I'm talking years and years. That was sensational. One point I want to early on make while we're talking about the Broncos is the halves. Ezra Mann, whenever he comes back, he will not be making this team. As long as Hunt and Reynolds are fit, I think they'll be the first choice halves pairing, rightly so. And I think what they did for someone like Reece Walsh, for instance, magnificent. I don't think Reece Walsh was as busy or as crazy as he has been in the past, but I think that's been his downfall. I think he was quite controlled. Was able to come up with a couple of nice, silky, skillful moments, but it felt like that halves pairing helped Reece Walsh's game massively. And if I'm the coach looking at that, Madge obviously knows his stuff. He's done a great job early on. I'm thinking, okay, this is what I need moving forward. This is a great balance of experience, skill, speed, calmness, coolness, level-headedness. It's just perfect so far.
In regards to the Reece Walsh stuff, I actually think that specifically him, the ground was really affecting him because he has kind of like a sideways run and stuff like that. And he seemed to slip over a lot, and it seemed to be due to the track. But like, I think that just limited his output a little bit. So like, I think he would have probably been even more effective. That's actually the worst thing, or that's the scariest thing, I suppose, about that is I think on a dry track, they flog him by more than they did, because I think that he specifically was kind of kept out of the play a little bit by the ground. In terms of the halves combo, you're right. I think, first of all, if they're playing like this, by the time Ezra Mann comes back, he's going to have to basically sit in the sidelines until they're not, or until one of them gets injured. But at the same time, they're both quite old, and Adam Reynolds isn't known for staying on the field for an entire season, so that's probably more than likely going to happen. I think, so going back to my sort of thing I said earlier, which was it felt like they were playing schoolyard footy. There were one or two tries in there where literally their whole, it wasn't planned, it wasn't like something that was specific, it was just see what is happening in front of you, like get an offload, see what is happening in front of you, just make it happen. And you're right in the sense that Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt are two of the best eyes-up footy players probably in the comp, as well as being two of probably the best set play like halves in the comp. So when you put those two things together, they're absolute weapons. The Robert Toya try, Ben Hunt, sort of his defense let him down a little bit. It was just a big whiff of a tackle, to be completely honest with you. But as long as that's not happening every single time, one missed tackle, I understand that it's not ideal, but as long as it's not happening every time, and as long as he's putting more try assists on the board than he is letting tries in, well, the maths works out. So,
100%. In terms of their middles, I just thought Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan. Payne Haas, let me say this. Actually, Paddy Carrigan's stint was underrated. Underrated as F, basically. I won't swear, but he was sensational. And I think the fact that Payne Haas outshone him, especially his first stint, just shows you how good Payne Haas's stint was, because together, absolutely love this call now that the Broncos have made, that Madge has made to pair them up. It just gets them on the front foot. It gets them on. I reckon we can go back to this, but I anticipate there not to be many games at all, maybe 2 to 3 where they don't start the first 15 minutes on the front foot. And it's all down to these two. They're absolute machines. The team follows them. And I was just so impressed. Like, I don't know the words to describe the Payne Haas's stint. So I don't want to do it any disjust. Like, I don't want to disservice it at all, because I'll just simply say it was special. It was a special stint that I don't think many front rowers in this game could actually come up with. Shows you that the sort of tier that Payne Haas is in.
No, you're absolutely right. I think he's kind of in a tier of his own, in the sense that a lot of teams at the moment seem to be going for this smaller, more mobile forward pack idea. Well, you know what he is? He's bigger and more mobile. He doesn't care. He doesn't even, honestly, it seems like he just doesn't care about the laws of physics. Like, his body just doesn't move in a way that a guy that big should be able to move. And it's not fair. And the worst part about it is, now you mentioned Paddy Garrigan, and I will quickly mention him because I think that you're right. He smashed it. I think that he shores up the middle in a way that Payne Haas doesn't. So I think that what Payne brings is more of that go forward. He really brings that, like, let's get the other team on the back foot. And Paddy Carrigan does a good job of that too. But I think what he's better in defense than he is in offense, in making his tackles and making the people around him kind of better in that defensive aspect. But what I want to draw attention to is, imagine you're going to play against the Broncos, right? And you're a prop. And you see Payne Haas go off the field, and you're like, sweet, yeah, okay. You know what? Now's our chance to go ahead. And then you see this bloody 7 foot, I don't know how tall he is, Xavier Willison. Where is he? Hold on, I found it. I got his info here. It's crazy. Oh, no, don't. No, either way, he's a monster. Have you seen this kid? He's huge. And then you imagine you see Payne Haas go off, and you're like, yeah, sweet, he's going off. And then you see this guy who's bigger than Payne walk on the field, and you go, what is this? Like, are we kidding here? Like, this is a joke. I couldn't believe it. The other person I wanted to give a little shout out to, though, being honest, is Kobe Hetherington. Yeah. Was it Kobe Hetherington or Corey Jensen that made that break where Victor Radley smashed his head in?
I think it was Hetherington.
I think it was Hetherington too. Yeah. That little bit of footwork he put on before he sort of made that break was fantastic, and he just looked good all game.
Yeah, he was a toiler. He just did his work at lock, and I thought it was a sensational move to put him there. And a lot of faith. I think there's been a number of selections here that are people going, "Ooh, this is either going to be a stroke of brilliance, or I'm not too sure." They're like, for instance, Shibasaki on the edge there. They're Jajeski as well. Like, there's a couple of big calls here by Madge that has early on paid off a lot for him. He's seen something in the preseason that he absolutely loves. Obviously, because of no Stags, that helps as well. But yeah, I thought they all ensured that those selections were really good. One final one, I think Corey Pakes for mine was sensational from dummy half as well, which has completely just bamboozled what's going to happen here when everyone's fully fit, because I originally have Moser a walk-up starter in that jersey. I think that's his jersey now, and I think it's about time he gets a shot at it. Who knows what he could have done in this sort of game? Like, he would have absolutely frothed this game wide open. Him from dummy half, he would have been so dangerous. But Pakes got to enjoy it. Pakes looked brilliant. To be honest, anytime I've seen Corey Pakes, he seems to just have it. It makes you question what Kevy Walters was doing last year. Was he favouring his son? Because Corey Pakes feels like he's a level above Billy Walters. Yeah. Not been trying to be disrespectful, just from the naked eye, what I've seen, I've got to call it the way I see it. You got Billy Walters last, in my opinion, for the hookers. Then you've got Pakes or you've got Moser. I'm not too sure. And then Ben Hunt at some stage, does he end up going back to that 14 or that 9 position? Who knows? But goodness me, all of a sudden they're absolute riches in that 9 jersey.
Well, yeah, they've got, I think, 4 options. And then especially, once Ezra Mam comes back, you got, like you said, Ben Hunt, so that makes 5. Or maybe that's 4. I don't know. Either way, if a hooker goes down, they've got hookers. They're good for that. The thing is with Corey Pakes, though, is does Moser own that spot? I mean, Corey Pakes came out, and if they keep winning and he keeps that spot, like if he stays in that hooker role and he keeps doing what he did last game, does Moser walk back into that spot? I don't think so. I think that Corey Pakes, basically the way I see it as a coach is if a player is in the, someone gets injured or whatever, and a player is in that position doing a better job or doing a really great job and you're winning games, why are you swapping them out when that player gets back? if that's the whole point of a squad, is if they're earning that spot, if they're doing enough to earn that spot, why swap them back? I think until Pace shows he's not the guy for that job, he deserves the shot.
I absolutely agree. Anything else you wanted to touch on this game, or happy to move on?
No, I think I'm good.
Word of warning,
actually,
this could be a long one.
It probably will be. I will say, where is he? That I thought that Selwyn Cobbo looked a lot better on the wing than he ever did at centers.
Yes, no, definitely takes away his thinking. I feel like, and he's a finisher. We know he can finish. He's quite quick as well. I thought the wing suited him absolutely fine as well. That's another great move by Madge. Next up, the West Tigers versus the Newcastle Knights. The Friday game. Feels like an age ago now. I guess that's one of those ones where you go, how the West Tigers lose this one? They looked like they were the better team for a lot of it, but credit to the Knights, they hung in and got the job done. I mean, when you tip them, your tipping's on fire for the round. It was almost going to happen. What were your thoughts on the West Tigers here, Jake? Because I know for me, it definitely looked like they've improved. I did say it on my notes and people bagged me out, but I actually thought their defense and stuff was quite good on the line. I keep saying this to people. I'm talking about online defense where there actually was quite still. I know there was a lot of missed tackles in this game, but I think both teams' defense on the line was quite good. They were quite like brick wall type mentalities. It was obviously just everywhere else in the field, they were poor defensively, but when it mattered most, they were both able to keep their line quite well. But did you like what you're seeing from the Tigers?
I did at first. So first half, I thought, oh, geez, these guys look a bit more sort of switched on than last year. Like, especially in attack, I kind of thought, hey, hold on, they're sort of showing us something here. And they got up to, it was what I'm just trying to remember who scored first. Sorry, it went, yeah, they scored first, and it kind of stayed like that for a really long time. And then, like, sort of after that first try, because they scored in 6 minutes. After that, I kind of went, like, for a really long time, nothing had happened in that game, and I kind of went, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not that much different, because like that first try that they scored was really nicely executed. It looked real slick. And then after that, it was kind of a bit, slow for the game. Then by the time we got to the end, of the game, and it was the Knights had gotten up, I think there was still about 10. Hold on, there was, let's see, it was a 66 minutes, so there was 14 minutes to go. They looked rudderless, is the word I would use. They looked leaderless. They looked like they didn't know what they were doing in attack. And I thought this was the exact perfect moment for Jerome Luai to basically stamp this, I am here. I am the one who is going to get us these wins. Exactly what he talked, all the stuff he talked in the preseason and everything that he said is, I'm going to be the guy. In those types of situations when when we're in that real tight situation and you need the guy, I'm going to be the guy. It felt like he just jumped back into being a 5'8", basically. He jumped back into trying to have that run-first mentality, and the Knights just had it all over him. Like, he wasn't organizing the team around. He wasn't telling people where to be, and they just never even looked. Other than right towards the end where they almost scored one in the corner, I'm pretty sure it was, they just never looked even close to sort of getting that point back. And I just thought, is this going to be the Tigers of the last, is it going to be a 4-peat? I don't know. To be honest with you, they shouldn't be. I don't think with the team they have, but I don't know.
Oh, dropping bombs. On the Luai thing, I loved when he ran out. I loved him jumping around, pumping up, screaming out, bringing that energy. That is what we love to see from Jerome Luai. I was sort of a little bit different in a way, Jake, in terms of his game. I thought he really lacked that halfback quality, which I 100% agree with. What I kind of wanted to add, I wanted him to do a bit more, was actually the running game, because I felt like he actually played in a way where he was in two minds and he kept questioning himself every time he had the ball, saying, am I supposed to organize here? Can I run? Do I just pass? And it just felt like every time was almost a pass option, and he didn't seem to grab anyone's attention in terms of the defense enough. And I just think I'm a little bit worried early days with this experiment to halfback for him, because it's going to take some time. I get that. But his strongest part of his game is his running game. And you don't want to take that away from him. But at the same time, You don't want to have him and Galvin plus Buller when he's back, all with fantastic running games. You can't have that. You need to have someone say, you know what, take a step back. I'll be the organizer of this team. And Luai has said it, but I'm just worried because then that takes away his strongest part of the game. So I don't know what's going to happen there, because that's probably a headache that Benji currently has. And he's probably seen that and gone, what am I going to do here with this? Because it just looked like Jerome definitely was a bit confused. Obviously, not having his ex-Penrith team there was a huge impact, because he'd be able to rely on Cleary, Yo, stuff like that to ice that game every day of the week. He had to do it, and unfortunately, you have to put it down as a fail early. They did have glimpses, though. I did think that they had glimpses where they looked like a much better team. Loved the crowd. Loved how the crowd got into it. Loved the passion with the Tigers boys when they scored that try and things like that. Credit to the wingers. I thought their wingers were pretty big, and are going to be huge for them this year. Taruva and Skelton working their asses off coming out of their own end. They've missed that, and I really, really enjoyed watching what I did watch from them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Look, when they signed both of those two players, I was basically like, you know what? They finally have some people who can sort of have that bit of go ahead, especially Taruva specifically, because he's coming from such a system where that was kind of his main sort of role. But Skelton as well. Skelton's a big body. And not only in offense, in defense, he will rattle you. You run at him, and he did. I can't remember who he hit, but he hit someone, and he rattled them. And I just go on like, you don't want to be running at this guy. And then it's unfortunate that Olam had to succumb to that injury, because I thought that you imagine him in the centers along next to Skelton, mate, you would never want to run at that side. You would never want to run at that side ever, because you would just die. And then the other side, you got Adam Dewey, who I think is fantastic as a center. He's done a great job. And I think that Taruva, same thing. So I think their outside backs look really good. And the other thing, I suppose, is they were missing sort of one of their main key components with Api Coruscant. Yeah. They're missing their main fullback in Dream Buller. Like they did have people out, but at the same time, they were versing who we both put down as our favorites for the Spoon. And they've kicked it off with with a loss to the team we had favorites to the Spoon. I know it was close. I understand all of that. But you're right. I think you have to put it as a fail, because, you know, that should be a game where this newfound Tigers team should be flogging it. And I just don't think that they did what they did. I will give a shout out, and I'm sure you were going to speak about him in a second, but I really want to get there first, is that how good was Terrell May? Mate.
Machine.
We just talked about Payne Haas and how good he is. Terrell May is a little different. He's not the same style as Payne Haas. Payne Haas is like he's like a new generation, like attacking style forward that can just kind of do everything. Whereas what Terrell May brings is just unrelenting, just hard work. He will not give up in a game. And as a forward, as a team where you have your forward and you need that is what you want. My concern, though, with this team is he the only one? Is he going to be the only one who can do that for their team? Because it didn't feel like the other big signing, it was Royce Hunt, didn't feel like he did the same.
Yeah,
to me.
He looks like he's going to be a crowd favorite early on, Royce Hunt, but for mine, he does need to do a lot more. He can't just be a part-time player like he was at the Sharks. He needs to take that control a little bit more, in my opinion. I don't think he did that on the weekend, which is disappointing. I really enjoyed watching Fanua Pole as well. I think early on he had a good start to the game with Terrell May. But I agree with what you're saying with Terrell May. Absolute freak, workhorse. I think we're going to be talking about him so much throughout the year and just saying wow. But I think to wrap the Tigers part up, I really like the fact that we're talking like this with the Tigers, saying they lost. They should be disappointed, because this is the team that they're now becoming. They've got enough quality around this park where they should be saying, no, that wasn't good enough. We should have won that game and move on. And sort of some of the last things that Benji said in his presser was basically that, was the fact that we didn't win. Like, effort was great, all good. We can say effort was good, but we're not that team anymore. We don't want to just sit here and go, yeah, our effort was good. That's a pass mark, move on. We didn't get the 2 points. We should have. And who knows? We could be looking back at this game at the end of the year going, that was the 2-point game where if they won that, we could be talking finals football or something like that down the track. That could be that sort of a game where they go, shit, should have got that.
Are you if you're a Tigers fan, are you concerned about the press conference with Benji where a reporter basically just said like, hey, you sort of said there was a few different things that you sort of were the reasons why you lost. Can you tell us sort of what those were? And Benji just went, nah. Like, are you concerned that is that like a media ploy, or just does he not have the answers? That's the question I'm sort of asking.
I think he's got some answers. I think he more so just he's probably at the point where he's sick of the Tigers bashing, so he doesn't want to give him any more ammo, and he's just gone, you know what? Let's keep it in house. If anyone's watched their doco yet, which I want to give a quick shout out to on YouTube, make sure you go and watch it. I watched it, 2-part series, I believe it is. It's them on their army camp. One of the best things I've ever watched sporting related. It was absolutely sensational. I cannot rate it enough. Not a Tigers fan, obviously. Absolutely loved it though. There's a scene in the first one that Dream Buller, and this shows you the sort of play that they were missing on the weekend. I think they would have won if he was playing after what I've seen. They gave the team an option. They go, you can either do, I think it was 100 burpees or something as a team as punishment, or it was you have to do this thing where you go, or I forget what it was, or you have to go as a team to do something ridiculous. Yeah, something like that. Or you basically, one person can step up and do this thing 3 laps, and you go off. You go.
It was 90. It was 90 burpees as a team. The whole team would have had to do 90 burpees each.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like ridiculous. Or carry this pole which had water in it. It weighed heaps. So hard to. It was like uneven and stuff. Out of the blue steps up Dream Buller, and absolutely like it was moving. Like I'll be honest and say like I was watching it with there was some tears in the eyes coming because it was special. It was a special scene, and I watched that going, you know what, the 2-part series, they're building something there, and a lot of people are doubting Benji, and we have rightly so, I think as well, and the way the Tigers did that. But after watching that, I do feel like he's got some of the good characteristics that you need in a coach moving forward, and I am excited to watch what they can do this year.
The primary thing that a coach needs to have before anything else, in my opinion, is care for your players. Like, is that, that I actually genuinely care about you as a person before football, before anything else. And I think that he has that. I think that I'm not saying that Madge doesn't have it, but I don't think it felt like it was very receptive across at the Tigers, or sort of when he was there, because a lot of it was them losing and him yelling at them. And I feel like in terms of the side of like Benji sort of come in with this, like, how are you before football's happening? What's going on with you? And I've heard a lot of interviews where he's sort of like, a lot of the players sort of say that. So that's great. And I think you're right that they are building something. And I really hope it comes off, because I want to see them succeed. I actually want to see the Tigers succeed. I don't want to see them fail. Like I'm ready to see sort of some success and some growth from them. But at the same time, the sort of question, if they don't do much more, the question does have to be asked, of course, is he a good enough coach to keep coaching that football side?
100%. On the Newcastle Knights, they won the game, but weirdly enough, I had way more notes on the Tigers than I did the Newcastle Knights for this game. I sort of walked away and said, how did they win it? I was so happy they did, tipping wise, but I just didn't really get it. I can tell you how they won it.
2 words: Kalen Ponga.
Oh, he was good. I actually had someone else I wanted to give a rap to first, who I thought was sensational. Fletcher Sharp. And I think he actually helped Kalen Ponga free up his game slightly and not have to be solely focused on Ponga to produce everything, because I thought Sharp had some brilliant moments. And I'm starting to really come around to this whole move of Sharp to 5'8" and what it does for this team and what it does for their main player in Kalen Ponga. I just think, as I said, it frees him up. He looks a lot more like Ponga can pick his moments. And having both Ponga and Fletcher Sharp basically around the ruck almost 24/7 there, or 80 minutes of that game, I think it makes them quite a dangerous attacking team. You got to look out for the offloads. You don't want them getting offloads. You don't want them getting offloads away, because those two are just any sort of space they're away and they'll link up together. They'll score. Like, it'll be a try almost every single time. I'm really impressed with that combination, what we can see from that this year.
Well, Fletcher Sharp. So they tried the fullback experiment with Ponga, and that didn't work. And I think the reason that didn't work is because then they didn't have anyone in the back to do what he does. So that basically took him away from the team, if that kind of makes sense. And so with him at the back and Fletcher Sharp, who is kind of a Pappenhausen build. Like he's just got that speed. He's just got that blistering. Like as soon as you get a second, he's gone. One stat that I really liked in terms of him is not just him himself as a 5'8". This is a stat that I really like to see is that run first mentality. Fletcher Sharp ran 12 times in that game for 128 meters as a 5'8". So with that being said, he still did a lot of work, as we saw. Like we saw what he did. He had 2 line breaks in the game. And I think that's the biggest thing is he's going to be that run first mentality, but at the same time, that's just going to make your defense sort of question, do we need to have an extra number on it? Like, do we need to be marking him more? And if they take their eyes away for a second on a dummy or whatever, he will go through you. He will cut through you like a hot knife through butter. So I know it's only been on one game and they only, just got up on the Tigers, but it was a good game. Realistically, the Tigers put in a good effort. And so I think that it's got good signs. I'm not going to give it my stamp of approval yet, but I think that it can definitely work. It's got good signs, and I want to see how it develops. And the key important question for Adam O'Brien is, does Jack Cogger stay with him as his halves partner? I think he did enough to deserve, yes, personally. But I'm just saying we don't know because they've won before in the past, and we just don't know what's going to happen. But Fletcher Sharp should stay there, definitely. He earned the right to stay there.
Surely. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He stayed out of the limelight. For mine, I would definitely have Cogger as mine. Yeah, unfortunately, we're getting used to that. So, team this Tuesday, we'll see probably Hastings there at 7. Kind of before Bradman Best. Now, I'm unsure how to attack this because I actually love Bradman Best in the rep arena. I love the passion he has, and I do believe he's that sort of quality of center that deserves to be in that bracket. Goodness me, though, he makes it hard, and he just look. It felt like every single decision he made on the weekend was the wrong one. He did not make the right decision once. Like anytime he should have drawn and passed, he ran. A couple of times he tried to then do some fancy pass, but anytime he was supposed to run, he passed. Like I don't know what he was doing on the weekend, but felt like his mind was anywhere but a football field because I have not seen a center make almost the wrong decision every single time, but still feel like he's had a decent game. It's just weird.
He's not used to getting quality ball, man. Like, honestly, whenever you watch the Knights over the last 2 years, everyone always talks about how much potential Bradman Best has, and he does because the guy's a freak. But no one ever gets the ball to him early enough, and no one ever gives him quality ball. So he's actually got some decent ball in that game where he had time to like make a decision. And then I think that's an issue for him because he hasn't made a decision in attack for 2 years because he just gets given the ball at the line to score. So, but if I'm being realistic, I think he did have a good performance. Yes, he made some errors, and yes, he made some mistakes. But at the same time, he had 15 runs for 192 meters. And touching on that, because I'm looking at all the backline at the moment for the Knights, I don't understand how the score was 10-8, considering. Listen to this: Kalen Ponga, 20 runs for 201 meters. James Schiller, 16 runs for 162 meters. Dane Gagai, 14 for 109 meters. Bradman Best, 15 for 192 meters. And Greg Marju, 17 for 167 meters. That is a ridiculous output from all 5 backs. That's an output you just don't see from most teams. Like they're contributing so that your forward pack gets to be sort of more solid in the middle, and they contributed well.
Well, people bagged me for it, but I actually really enjoyed the game. I actually thought it was, in a way, sort of had an old school vibe about it. Like, it wasn't high scoring and stuff. It was round 1. There was a few mistakes, things like that. But it sort of felt like it was plenty of back and forth type. They had a shot, then the next team had a shot, vice versa, stuff like that. Like, both teams had moments of brilliance and then defensive stuff. And I don't think it was necessarily a bad game. I was watching it. I was on the edge of my seat a couple of times. So, yeah, I enjoyed it, but people called me crazy for saying that in the notes, but it is what it is. Next game up, South versus the Dolphins. Obviously, this was a late change due to the cyclone. Thanks, Alfie, to Combank Stadium. So that was good to see there. No crowd, but I didn't expect that to be much a crowd there. So I'm surprised so many people are bagging that out, but late notice and the weather wasn't great, it looked like in Sydney. So didn't really anticipate a sellout by any means. For mine, obviously South came away with this victory. Where are you going with this one? We're going to go South first, or are we going to go the Dolphs?
No, we'll go Souths first, I think. If you want, are you asking me to kick it off? Because I will.
Kick it off.
I thought that the Souths looked like they had it over them big time early. I thought they looked early on in the game like they really they just looked dominant throughout the whole game. And then I reckon the second half, I'd argue that the Dolphins looked more dominant. They looked like the Rabbitohs sort of fell away. They ran out of steam a little bit. The main person I definitely want to sort of talk about with that Rabbitohs side that surprised me, because I hadn't watched him play in the trials. I hadn't watched him play at all. So I actually didn't know what to expect from him, was Jamie Humphries. This kid can play, man. This kid can play. Why was he not their first option to play in the halves? I didn't even know. Because I know everyone said he was a hooker. So I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't seen him play, but he did nothing wrong to me. I thought he defended well. Biggest halfback I've ever seen, by the way. The guy could play in the second row. I don't understand where that's come from, but yeah, he's huge. But yeah, no, I thought that the Rabbitohs definitely looked like they came out of them early, and I think the Dolphins settled in and they came to it. And I definitely think, I reckon you give them another 10 minutes and the Dolphins would have won that game.
Yeah. It's I was impressed. It was just such a Wayne Bennett coached display, wasn't it? Like it was just, don't doubt him. As soon as it was moved and that, you just knew that was a game that Bennett was going to pounce on and go, yeah, let's take this one. Let's just remind the competition that I'm here now. My team's going to perform the way it is. And they literally just did that. Like, as you said, they started so well. Then they just effectively spent a while just coasting, it felt like, in a way, just making sure they're in the game still. And then towards the back end, they started to go again and got it done. So Munro feels so sorry for him. Jesse mentioned it in the Supercoach part, but playing so well. I was looking to go, well, hat-trick's on the cards for sure. And then obviously didn't come back and we get told the collarbone spewing. Like that's horrible to see. He looks a player. He looks a real player, because it wasn't just, yeah, he's got flashiness, he's got speed, but he actually was doing a bit of work out of his own end in the first half as well, which sometimes with those flashy players, you don't really get. You don't see that happen. I was a bit worried about that in his game, but that's no concern. He was happy to take it up a few times and get down and dirty effectively. Just a shame to see that. And I think as well, Jai Gray, my shout out too. I thought he was sensational, and it just keeps making you think, like, I know Latrell's Latrell, but every time in the last couple of years, and even when the Bunnies were struggling, that I feel like that the Bunnies have been their best self. It's been when Jai Gray's been a fullback, and he's just working his absolute ringer off. And that's again what he did on the weekend. It makes you think. And I don't know where Latrell fits in this backline either if he was to move, because their backline looks fairly set as well. So I'm not sure what happens there. I'm imagining it's just going to be Latrell. We'll go back to fullback, but it'd be so harsh to take that number one spot off Jai Gray. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that Jai Gray playing style sort of reminds them of Reece Walsh. I don't see that. I think that Jai Gray reminds me of Dylan Edwards in his play style. And I know he's a different body type and stuff like that, but the way I sort of see it is work ethic. I think the kid, like you just said, he's a competitor and he just puts in. Like, he's just there all the time. Like, you see someone else making a break on the wing or like about to score, he's always just either that second late to make the tackle or he makes the tackle. Like, he's just a consistent performer. But that's a very difficult question you sort of brought up, is like when Latrell comes back. And it sort of sucks because I think that we all know what Latrell on his best day, unfortunately, does beat out Jai Gray. But Latrell on his worst day does not. I think that Jai Gray is that consistent, maybe 7 kind of thing at the moment. And I think that like Latrell's either 10 or 5. Like, he doesn't have that sort of that middling day kind of thing. I'd like to give a little shout out to Lachlan Hubner on, I believe it was his debut for the club, but he looked very solid. He looked very solid. He just did his job. I don't think that he was anything too spectacular, but I think that he did the job they asked him to do, basically. Not letting in, not missing any easy tackles, making some good meters in attack. And I just think that he did a really good, solid debut. And I just want to say, congratulations to him for making his debut.
I think they've got enough quality in this football team across the park where they don't need a flashy lock. So I think Hubner is perfect for that role. meat and veg type player. We love those. And just go up and down the field, do his hit up that he needs to do his defense that he needs to do. One final mention on one, and there's been so much talk with Wayne Bennett arriving and the impact that he has on Latrell Mitchell. I think everyone understands that. And look at how fit Latrell looked before that injury happened. I think we all knew that the Latrell we were going to get. I actually want to talk about Cody Walker briefly because I think everyone's forgotten and it hasn't been spoken at all, really. I think Cody Walker's and the Wayne Bennett impact on Cody Walker is underestimated dramatically because he, from what I saw on the weekend, completely different player to what we've seen in the past. Didn't lose his shit once, which we're used to seeing from him, chucking his toys out of the cot often. There was times where he probably could have. There was a couple of rough refs calls that they had and things like that. And there was a couple of moments where they weren't playing their best football. But I think this version of Cody Walker with Bennett there is something that has been slept on. And I think he could be a huge, huge asset this year for the Bunnies.
Oh, I mean, we know what he's got on his best day. And unfortunately, the way I sort of see it is the same as Latrell. He's such a rocks and diamonds player. But you're right. I think that Wayne Bennett helps him be more diamonds than he is rocks. I think that I think he played his best football just before Bennett left because they were in a grand final. Then Bennett sort of left after that, and at the same time, so did Adam Reynolds. So that a lot of people sort of attribute that. Or Adam Reynolds left, and that's the reason why Cody hasn't played his best since then. But you're absolutely right. It could be that Wayne Bennett not being there, that sort of stable, or that stable coaching system or whatever it be, that he has that effect on Cody. Because in the sense that, he has always had that sort of that throws toys out of the cot mentality, but he didn't do that last night. Even when they were up the whole time, I know that, but he just didn't. He just looked calm. He just looked composed, and I think he just did his job. And I think that the more he starts to do that, the more that the opportunities for him to thrive will come through.
Yeah, no, I agree. For the Dolphins, what was that? That was two different teams in two halves. That was first half. They literally didn't get off the plane. Their heads were somewhere else, and it's very, very hard to be critical of the Dolphins because of obviously what has happened. I was very big on agreeing with what the players were doing. I was very much in their camp if they had to stay home, things like that. I know it wasn't popular, but I was for if they had to postpone the game, I wasn't going to complain because for mine, there are certain things that come before football, and family is definitely one of those things. And I just thought it would have been it's really harsh to put that on the Dolphins. And then the news came out that they wouldn't be able to go straight home like the Broncos did. They had to stay the extra night when it was going to be their worst night for the cyclone to hit. A lot to put in. Whatever was said at halftime, they did work because they became a different team. They became a team that looks like they could be banging on the door of the top 8. They were sensational in that second half for about that first 25, 30-minute period. I don't have too much written about the Dolphins, to be honest with you. The one thing I did mention, and I know a few people started to talk about this in multiple groups I'm in, the Hammer's impact. And it just sort of feels like I want to shake him a little bit because that first half, and granted, majority of their team wasn't there. He was extremely quiet, and it looked like in a way he wanted to be anywhere but the football field. And then the second half, we see the Hammer that we know and love and just see how good he is. I think the Fuller injury is going to be huge in this club because I think there was a stage there where it looked like Hammer was going to become a full-time center, and that would have been huge for the Dolphins and probably where he's at now. I think he's turning himself into more of a center because at fullback, you can't be that player. And I know we say we accept it from someone like Latrell because he can so instantly basically turn a game for South and come up with those special moments. Hammer's not really that player. I think with the speed, he does have to do a little bit more work, and he doesn't. I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of times where he just dawdled around and just sort of got it done and the bare minimum, and then that second half burst to life. Like I just want a bit more of that second half throughout the game from Hammer because I think he's fit enough. I don't know if it's a fitness problem because it feels like he's fit. I don't know.
I definitely can't imagine it's a fitness problem. Look, if I'm being honest with you, I have a feeling that the first half being what it would have been due to all the stuff happening at home and the fact that they had to fly across late and stuff like that. Like, realistically, it's a shake-up. You got people at home you're worried about and you're thinking about and stuff like that, and that's completely fair. You can't blame them for that at all, and I don't blame them for what they sort of put out in that first half. And I think that maybe being able to go into that second half and sort of make sure that they found out, everyone's all right, no one's hurt, we're all okay. That probably is what happened, and it probably settled them. To be honest, I don't know for sure that that's exactly what happened, but I'd imagine the coach was going to be like, no, you can't message, you can't message your people and make sure they're all right. So I'm guessing that they probably would have done that, and then they would have been like, yep, no, it's pretty full on here, but we're fine and stuff like that. And I think that's what probably not sobered them up, but made them realize, hey, everything's okay, we're all sweet, no one's hurt, let's go, we can still win this football game now that we're here. And I think that's probably what is, because it wasn't just Hammer. I feel like it was the whole team that did exactly what you just said. Everyone was asleep for the first half and then just sort of woke up in the second. And that's the only real thing I can think of that must have sort of happened. And I think that, if I'm being honest with you, I think that if it was played where it was supposed to be, I reckon the Dolphins would have won that game. Maybe I'm just saying that because I tipped them and it's, it sucks that I got it wrong. But at the same time, I don't know, but I'm being honest. I do think that was the big difference. I thought that Hammer himself, I'm surprised because I just looked at the stats. I'm surprised he ran 21 times for 228 meters over the game. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot.
No, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have thought that happened at all, but he did. He ran 21 times for 228 meters. That is not some small amount. That is a huge amount of work throughout the game. And I think he got through it really quietly. Like he said, you didn't notice it. So
I'd like to see what that is. The first half compared to second half. He felt like it was much easier second half. So
yeah, I wish I
could
break
down those stats even more.
But yeah, so that surprised me, and every one of the wingers and centers got over 100 meters run. Most of them over 150, except for Averillo, who ran 106. But that's still not some small amount of like I just said, any team where you have all 5 of your backs run over 100 meters in a game is a pretty solid effort. So it's a bit of a surprise. What were your thoughts on Sean O'Sullivan in the halfback role, or not halfback in the sixth role there?
To be honest with you, I want to reserve my judgment on all this too much because, like we said, what they went through, what happened. Sean O'Sullivan was a late inclusion, so probably anticipated himself playing reserve grade on the weekend, and all of a sudden he was thrown into playing a 5/8 role, which for mine, he's more of a halfback. So that was straight away a bit different. He was quiet, definitely, in my opinion. He didn't do much at all. Disappointing. But again, from what they went through, how it all unfolded, I don't want to be too critical on the Dolphins this week. I'm going to let them off the hook. And if something happens again next week, that'll be the one where I go, well, we gave you the benefit out last week. You don't have excuses this week, and we've seen it again. Then I'll be a bit more harsh with my words.
Just a quick shout out real quick before we sort of move on is how good, before he got that head knock, how good did Finny Fuyaki look? He looked awesome all game. He was one of the people who wasn't asleep in the first half. He just looked like he was going to break the line every run that he had. He looked really dangerous, and I've never really thought much of him, but he has piqued my interest. I'll sort of say that. He's someone I'm going to keep an eye out on because he looked like a freak. He had 12 runs for 121 meters, so he's making 10 meters a run, and that's all you can ask for from forward. That's great. Better than anything that Eels dished out.
Even when he was playing at the Cowboys, I've been very, very excited about him playing an 80-minute edge role. I think that's what he's been craving. Consistent football. Hopefully, I think it is basically confirmed he will miss next week, which is a shame. He deserves to be playing some consistent football. But I'm a huge fan of him. I think it's a brilliant signing from the Dolphins, and I think we'll see him go to another level with his game this year, getting that basically starting spot down pat. I think he's a sensational player. Dragons versus the Bulldogs. The next game up, the first of the Saturday games, yesterday's games. Goodness me, how much feeling was in this one? This was a back and forth battle, couple of coming-ins. There was some passion. It meant something. There was feeling. I loved it. It was a great game to watch. Obviously, what happened on the crowd, not what we're seeing in the videos, and that not great. But on the field, what happened there? 2 football teams going at it, absolutely brilliant. What we want to see, like, sit there, guys, and enjoy that. Get amongst it, be passionate, but please pull your heads in. Oh, I could swear, but I'm not. I'm trying not to. Let's go. Let's go the Dragons first here. Actually, sorry, no, let's go the Bulldogs first, because I think the Bulldogs, actually, there's not much to talk about from the Bulldogs. I've got 2 points really I want to talk about with the Bulldogs. My first point with the Dogs is this. Nothing's changed. They're still going to be that gritty team that get these wins. I'll say it now. I don't think they were the better team in this football game for majority of it. It felt like they were just hanging on, but they did it so well. I shouldn't say that, because the scoreline was what it was. So they were clearly better. But the way they went about it, in my opinion, it wasn't like that flashy. If we were seeing other teams put that scoreline on, they're doing everything. They're just flashiness. That's like the Storm, what we're seeing from the Storm today. They do it differently. They just go ahead and they'll just go, you know what? We will bash the crap out of you. We will play tough. We will play down the middle. And guess what? You look at the scoreboard, which we did, and we'll all of a sudden be on 20, 30 points. And you'll go, how did we do that? Which I'm effectively saying like right now and making that point. So I just think they haven't left, that they've gone nowhere. They're in this competition. They'll be one of those annoying teams once again that just you can't get an easy win off. It won't be. Kurt Mann's off the bench stint was fantastic. I think a lot of people slept on that one because Tuipulotu Tupanua was so good off the bench. His man was the difference, in my opinion. They were going back and forth, and it just felt like I noticed as soon as Mann came off the bench, that's when the Dogs took off and the Dragons couldn't keep up.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. He brings a very, and I know they sort of get compared a lot, and they did play together, but that's Connor Watson. He brings a very Connor Watson-like energy to a game. And I think that's a massive thing for any team to have, is that utility style, like kind of could be a forward, could be a back player that can literally just come in and just is all energy and just literally comes in and goes, you know what, like I'll drag the team. I'll just, I'll be everywhere. I'll be the one letting everyone else have a breather. I thought the Kurt Mann did well. You mentioned it as well, Satili Tupanua. The form that he was at last year, and he's had this wretched injury run. Like every time he seems to come back on the field, he seems to get injured again and stuff. So I sort of understand the business decision of sort of letting him go from the Roosters. But his game when they played, he reminded me of when he was his absolute peak form at the Roosters, and he was just scoring pretty much a try a game. Like, he was getting put through these beautiful holes and stuff like that. It was awesome. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts on whether you're willing to admit that you were wrong on Connor Tracy after a full preseason at fullback. I would like to know whether you're willing to admit that you were wrong, or if you need to give it more time.
Wrong on what? What am I wrong about?
You said to me that you said to me, and you said this on the podcast, that you weren't a fan of Connor Tracy. You said they needed a new fullback. You said they needed like a different fullback, and that you're not a big fan of his. And I said that I think that Connor Tracy always gets put in a sort of 14 role, or fills the gaps in places and stuff like that. And last year he wasn't even trained as their fullback at the start. This year he has had a full preseason getting to be the fullback of this team, and I think he's going to be an absolute freak. And you didn't agree with me, so I'd love to know your thoughts.
I remember what I said was this. I don't think they can win the comp with a 1-7 as they are at the moment. So that's obviously Tracy and Sexton. I don't think they'll win a competition with that. I think they need to improve at least one of those positions. Ideally, level up both. But I know salary cap wise, that potentially is impossible to do with the talent that they've got at that club already. I just think out of one of them, and I'm not going to pinpoint who it has to be, but I just think one of them for mine has to be leveled up for them to go to that level of a Penrith or a Storm. I think Connor Tracy is a great player. I've rated him highly for years, and I was spewing when that rumor of him going to the Eels a couple of years back didn't end up happening, when it seemed like he almost was basically signed, sealed, delivered. I was spewing when we missed out, because I think he's a perfect player that every club needs. He can fill in so many positions. His quality, he literally doesn't stop. He does not give up. It's all energy, and that's the sort of player you want at clubs. It's like Gutho. We'll talk about him shortly, but he's got similar sort of vibes where he just doesn't stop. He will just go and go and go. He cops it. He gets up, doesn't stop. He's great for what they're doing at the moment. He's great for the way they're building that club. As I said, I just don't know if they can win the comp with both him and Sexton in two crucial positions.
I agree with you in the sense that I don't think they could win a comp with both of them, but I don't think he's the one I'd get. He's definitely not the one I'd get rid of out of the two. I think that he's a freak. I really, really rate him highly. Like on the weekend, he ran 20 runs for 224 meters. He's putting in those elite fullback numbers, and he hasn't been a fullback his whole life. Like I said to you, or like we sort of know, last year he was training. I think I don't actually know where he was training, but it wasn't fullback. I know that. And then they had Hayes Perham. Yeah, they're probably center. They had Hayes Perham there, and they had he came from the Rabbitohs. Oh my God, what's his name? They had another player that was given the first attempt to sort of start. He just didn't. They had Blake Taft, yeah, and he just didn't. He never really sort of suited there. So then they ended up going here. Connor, have you go at the back, and that's when they went on this big run that they went on. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's the one. I'm not saying he's the one that made them do that. I'm just saying that I think he's a big contributor, and I think he's underrated in his contributions to that team.
Yeah, one player, Reid Marnie, didn't have his best game at all. Got found out at dummy half and taken too many steps a number of times. Very slow service, which he needs to fix up straight away because now Dragons did great homework on him. I guess they've probably been given a heads up from Gutho playing with him for so long. Did some brilliant video on Reid and exploit him a number of times, which now clubs will do repeatedly. So Reid's got to learn to basically give it straight off the deck. Otherwise, he's going to be getting that all the time now because it's not a penalty. Rightly so, it's not a penalty. The defense is able to move as soon as it gets to Reid's hands, basically. And that's what they're doing. He's just taken one too many steps, in my opinion. So needs to fix that up.
Yeah. He did it when he was at the Eels. He did it. He's done it all of last year. And I've actually been probably surprised for a while now that he sort of hasn't been found out on it. Like no one ever really seems to play off that. He got caught out a few times with that. I think he had done 4 times. And they're just knocking the ball out, and then they're getting the ball back. It's too easy too because when he runs out, he sort of keeps his arms up nice and high like that for that pass, so they can just smack it out. Oh, loose carry. Here you go. Have the ball back. Too easy, to be honest.
Yep. No, I agree. Dragons, kick us off, mate. What were you think? What are your thoughts around them?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about the King yet because I don't let you have that honor. Okay, so I'm going to kick it off with an interesting player for mine, but one who I thought absolutely smashed it on the weekend and obviously scored a few sort of tries is that Christian Tuipulotu. But one thing I sort of thought was interesting because they were down by a fair few when he sort of scored his where was it? He scored his second try. Yeah, he did a bit of the money, and it's just a bit. At the time, I think they were down a fair bit. They were down a fair few points at the time, and it kind of seemed a bit dickish. I don't know if it's just me or if he was trying to get the energy up or if what the go was that he was trying to do, but he really, really celebrated it. He did. He really, really celebrated it, and they were down by a fair bit at the time, and I'm just cringe. It was a bit cringe. It's you don't really do that when you're down by that much. And look, all credit to him, I suppose. That's his second try. He scored a double, but it's a bit much.
I agree with you. I thought it was a bit weird. I seen Cookie's quotes about him. I think it was today, some point where he said he's the big chief sort of energy guy. They love him around the place. This is what he does. But he's just sort of felt like from this once Crichton did those knees to him, he wanted to carry on with that. He wanted to go after the everything that had happened and full on go for a punch up, which wasn't great. I think you need to show you can control your emotions better than that because now he'll become a bit of a player of interest to a lot of teams. They'll try and exploit that. There'll be a lot thrown his way. There'll be barbs and stuff trying to get under his skin. And whether that will work or not, maybe he's a player that's what he needs to poke him, wake him up, and off he goes type thing. So there's certain players that act differently. I didn't like what he did when he scored that try. I was more of a old school look at the scoreboard. You're still behind by a few. Let's get a few more and then start to carry on like that. I guess the counter can be, and people are probably saying this now, and Dragons fans are going, well, it maybe sparked us because we then got a couple more on the board, and maybe that's what we needed. Him to jump around like we love it from Luai. I mentioned that before. Yeah, the confidence, and that's what he does. Like I think he's established himself ahead of Sloan now for that wing position. I think that's his for the taking, and he'll keep that now to a Plottu. Just be careful. You don't want to show weakness in a way where you get picked at by that, and NRL players are too good with that sort of stuff now, and he might be able to back it up though. We just don't know. We've got a small sample size to look at. I guess he delivered. He had a great game.
He definitely seems like an energetic guy. He definitely seems like a very charismatic guy. I've never been a big fan of the massive. Like I don't mind a celebration after a try or whatever, but I'm like, when you're down at that point, I think it was like 8-20 something. I'm like, and it didn't look like there was that much time on the clock. Like, it didn't really look like it was that winnable of a game. I'm like, I don't know. You just don't come across. I don't know how to put it. Like cocky, the type of person where you look cocky, but you haven't done anything to deserve it. Mm-hmm. But don't get me wrong. The guy scored 2 tries and he looked great. It looks like he's going to be a real great player. I just hope that he gets that sort of temperament under control kind of thing. I don't know what I'm trying. Yeah, what I'm trying to say.
I know. Yeah, I get where you're going with that. I'll mention him, the King, Clint Gutherson. Absolutely sensational. Was absolutely everywhere the other night. I heard a couple of Para fans say, "Oh yeah, he's limping around." Like he didn't stop. Everyone was cramping up. He was cramping up, rightly so. I'm continually amazed at what this bloke can do and how many people continue to doubt him and take shots at him and whatever. He was just, as I said, he was one of the best players on the field, and he was in a beaten side. That majority of that game was a level below what the Bulldogs were producing, and behind a forward pack that was getting bashed from the outset, that couldn't keep up with the Bulldogs forward pack, which is a smaller one, which was a bit of a concern in my. Yeah, well, he is used to it, but he just continued to show up. Like it was just we're used to it, so we sort of go, yeah, this is Gutho. But I reckon the Dragons fans now, who probably were one of his biggest critics in the past, go, "Oh, Gutho, though, what a show off," things like that. Now realize what we've been saying for so long, and now realize the sort of play that they've got in their books. That I know he's the captain that now, but he's just inspirational. Everything he does on the field. Yeah,
well, he saved tries. He put people through for line break. He got a line break assist in there, and he just. It's a little bit funny. I'm looking at his stats. He had 15 runs for 137 meters, which, if I'm being honest, is a quiet game for Gutho. And I think you and I both know that. That's a pretty quiet game for him. Like, I know he was everywhere on the field, but at the same time, I think he almost could have done more. But that's us coming from experience, and I know he's sort of getting older and stuff like that. But if I'm looking at that thinking, and the game itself thinking, you know what, to be honest with you, I think Gutho has more in him. That's a good thing for the Dragons. That's a great thing for the Dragons, because we know what he's got in him and we know what he can do. And to be honest with you, I know the final score was 20-28 overall, but if you take that little brief period where the Dragons really cooked and they really started to put those points on the board, if they had done that a touch earlier, they could have run away with the game. Like if you actually really think about it, they could have I know that that's not how it played out, but at the same time, I think that's the style of play that the Dragons can have, is if they can get away with getting a roll on. We know what Gutherson can do in a team with momentum. We know what Damien Cook can do in a team with momentum. We know what Valentine Holmes can do. What are your thoughts now on the sort of the question marks we had around the halves?
I think there's still question marks. They lost the game, and there was definitely periods there where. But again, I think their forward pack really let them down early on, the Dragons, and we keep saying it, halfbacks and halves can't play if they're getting absolutely flogged in that area of the team. So too hard to be completely too judgmental, but they both come up with some mistakes at big times throughout that game. The good thing, what I'll say for them, though, is they both kept coming back. They both weren't getting defeated. They both didn't put their heads down, and they were both up for the fight. I would have been a lot more concerned if they both went away after their mistakes and stuff and just you didn't see him again, and then Gutho had to step up even more. But the fact that they both continue to aim up, I like that. I think I've ranked them last in my halves rankings. I'll stand by that. On paper, they're not there at all. But there's something to work with. From what they've got to choose from, this is their options, and they're going to make it work. And I think their style of play suits their halves as well. It's not too much. It's just getting it done. The meat and veg team in a way. And I think what it does put pressure on, I don't think he had his best game at all, was Damien Cook from dummy half. I think he could have done a lot more to help them out. I think when Little came on, they played a lot better, which if I was Shane Flanagan, early days has me a slightly concerned because I've said it from the start. I actually don't know why they signed Damien Cook. I don't get it. I think Little was sensational last year, and he's an 80-minute hooker. Like he's shown last year, he can play that. He can handle it. So I was a bit shocked at the money spent to get Damien Cook over and for the amount of his contract. See what happens there, because a lot of pressure is, as I said, on Damien Cook to help this halves pairing that will struggle. There'll be games where they do struggle, just the way it is. They can't all of a sudden become superstars when they haven't established that for themselves. He needs to pick his moments a lot better than I think he did on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. The big thing for me with Damien Cook, and I feel like Wayne Bennett is, in a way, the way, like from back when he coached him, the reason why he stopped this. The main thing that made Damien Cook one of the best hookers in the competition was his running game. He had the speed to get out and just absolutely blitz oppositions and really make some meters. And he picked and chose his moments, and they were always, when he first started, it was just awesome to watch him play, because he just looked so energetic and athletic and quick, and it was just awesome. You know, he used to be a beach sprinter. And I think that's just really been lost somewhere along the line. And I think it's from when Bennett was coaching the Rabbitohs. I think he really sort of lost that running game. And I just don't think he's ever found it again, if I'm being honest, not to the level where he used to have it. And I really, really hope that this season that Shane Flanagan basically can just go, mate, I want you to open up. I want you, if they have a marker slightly offside, if they have whatever, I want you to take that and have a crack. And I'm hoping, because I think he said something along the lines, he wants to try and keep Damien Cook and Little on at the same time at different stages. That'd be the time where you have Damien Cook in at hooker and you really want him to make those quick scoots, those darting scoots out from hooker, because then you got Little after to get the ball out anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's what I'm hoping. I really hope that Damien Cook can find, it's not like he's bad at anything else. It's just that he's lost that running game that made him the incredible player he was. He's okay, but he's not what he was.
Yep. No, that's fair. Next game up, Manly versus the Cowboys. Let's start with the Cowboys. Were they there? What did they want to play round one? Because it definitely looks like they didn't want to. They got absolutely monstered and bashed from the get-go. It was NRL versus Queensland Cup. I'll say that. It was not good at all. They kept it respectable in the second half, but Manly definitely took the foot off the pedal for sure, in my opinion. Went through the motions, made sure that some of their big guns were fit, no risk of injuries, stuff like that. So poor. Like I don't have anything written down from the Cowboys, just apart from the fact that they were so poor. That's it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm the same. I have not got much I can really say. Unfortunately, I know that's terrible for a podcast about, discussing what happened, but it's such a difficult thing to talk about. I'm just going to quickly say the next game we'll be able to talk about, because we obviously have a lot more specifics we can talk about with what happened there. But like, I don't know. Like you have two good halves. You've got a fullback who's an absolute sort of gun. You've got a hooker who's an absolute gun. So there's your spine. Maybe I don't think they had the go forward, to be honest with you. Like I just didn't feel like they had that go ahead in and they just kind of felt like they were being dominated when they were trying to make their way up the field. They made a lot of mistakes.
Sorry, but it was literally from the get-go as well. That's the concern.
Yeah, the instant. Seriously instant.
The first set, they had nothing. And it's round one. That in itself is inexcusable. And Payton said in his presser, he asked him questions and stuff and doesn't want answers now. But, mate, this stuff should have been sorted out before round one. We should not be getting here and you're asking serious questions like that to your playing group. Like that for mine is in itself. And I know Cowboys fans have drilled us in the off season because they're going, oh, how can Payton be on the chopping block? He's got him to the finals, blah, blah, blah. Mate, that in itself is why we are saying he's on the chopping block. And they didn't show anything on the weekend to suggest we're wrong. Like if they continue to
No,
put those in, he'll be gone by round 15. He'll be done.
You're absolutely right. One thing that Trev said on one of the other potties was they've lost Val Holmes, who was their main reason they could put points on the board. And you know what? Did they put any points on the board? No. You just said like it was basically from the get-go. So we have Olakwatu scoring in the 3rd, Saab in the 7th, Ben Trebojevic in the 9th. That's 3 tries before 10 minutes of the game. That is, and I know we're about to get absolutely smashed for this because we're about to talk about a different game, but that is just, it's embarrassing. To be honest, it really is embarrassing. Then you have the 26th, 49th, 51st, and 54th, and then they sort of, like you said, sort of took the gas pedal off. But the 2 tries the Cowboys scored were in the 72nd and the 77th minute. So it was when the Seagulls just didn't care anymore. They were just like, "Sweet, we've won. Let's just chill and get through the day, and go home." And what more can you say about the Cowboys? They had nothing. They had nothing in defense. They had nothing in offense. Even in those brief periods of time where sort of they weren't conceding tries, they weren't doing anything with the ball. It was just set for set stuff. Like, I have nothing I can comment on this team.
No, it was shocking. For Manly, though, that was absolutely sensational. It's the total opposite. From the get-go, they were switched on. I know it was Brookie, but that we know they grow a different leg, but that was something else. That was a performance where I sat back going, I genuinely believe this team could be the 3rd or 4th team in this competition. They could be a challenge for the Storm and Penrith if they get them on the right day. If they can play sort of this style, and it wasn't just, it was the fact that they were physical as well. Like, I know they were sensational in attack. They were, we can talk about that till the cows come home, but they were very physical. And that's something that we haven't been able to say about Manly in the past. Like, their forward pack really aimed up. Paseka was huge. We know Olakwatu can do Olakwatu things, but like even Burbo was brilliant on the edge. Like, everyone was physical. They were hitting, they were hurting the Cowboys, it looked like. There was literally just a men versus boys type game, and they were the men, and they were just giving the Cowboys an absolute bath. It was so exciting to watch. There was times I was like cheering more so from a Supercoach point of view. But it was just exciting, and I hate saying that as a Para fan, but I've got to respect it. I've got to respect when I watch great rugby league, and that was fantastic to watch.
Well, yeah, 100%. The person in defense I'm surprised you didn't mention was Jake Trbojevic. That man he just tackles everything that moves. And you know what? I think I'm pretty sure last year, I'm fairly certain he was playing in prop most of the time. I love him in lock. I think he's a lock through and through. I really do. I don't think he can play prop. Yeah, he does a job. But I think in terms of shoring up the defense and kind of moving around to either side and just making sure that, that he's plugging any gaps, I think that's what he does best. Because that if someone runs at him, they are not going past him. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is on what team. No one is going past Jake Trbojevic. Find another way around because you're not going through that path. One sort of in attack person I'm going to mention is I never really considered Jason Saab as the most skillful of wingers, if that makes sense. I always know that, he gets used for his speed and, he can pass on the inside and that sort of thing. But that little grubber kick that he put in to DC, it was a DCE that scored it, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember who scored it.
So.
Yeah, that little grubber kick that he put in that sort of just jigged past Scotty Drinkwater. Mate, that was a work of art. That little curl in right into the line, that was beautiful. And it just shocked me. I kind of went, oh, who's this guy? What's he doing? Yeah. And I remember at one point he made a mistake. This is a really important one for the game because you know what? They were up by heaps. It didn't matter, right? He dropped the ball off a kickoff. It was off the kickoff or off a pass straight after. He dropped the ball. Straight afterwards, the Dragons, the Cowboys went to go and attack down the left-hand side, and he just jumps up and just catches this ball and takes it down to ground. And I just went like, that's just work ethic. And I understand, first of all, he's like 9'2" or whatever. So like, it's not really fair, but like he basically made up for that mistake. And it's that idea of like, yeah, okay, yep, I'll put my hand up. I stuffed it, but I'm going to make up for that. And I'm not going to let that be a mistake that hurts the team. And I thought that was a massive mentality that I just never really expected Jason Saab to have. So I was pretty impressed by that, to be honest with you.
Oh, I agree, mate. I think it was absolutely sensational. Turbo's been poked. Turbo's awoken from round one. Sensational watch. He was everywhere. Very busy. Good. Didn't look like he was slowing down at all, which was awesome. A couple of really hard runs where he actually accelerated into the line as well, which I thought was a good sight. We obviously rewind 12 months to around this time, and looked like he was jogging everywhere. He couldn't get out of second gear. He looks like he's able to get up to fourth to fifth gear with ease at the moment, which is awesome to see from just a football's fan perspective and also my Supercoach perspective because I had to see on him. So that was brilliant to watch. Last one, DCE as well. Together, like them two together is so good to watch when it's like this. And DCE's combination with Olakwadu, how much he uses him and how well he knows how to use him. I think DCE looks to me, he could easily go another year. And I mentioned it sort of, it looks like it's a more mental thing if he wants to go ahead and do it because physically he's more than capable, I reckon, of going at least 12 more months.
Oh, more than that. The guy doesn't look like he's slowed down since he started playing NRL. He literally looks like he's played the same level other than with, a bit more wisdom and kind of thing over time. He looks like he's basically played the same level of football and to the same physical standards since he started. I just don't get it. Like, I don't get, does he not age? Does he not feel pain? Like, I just don't understand why. Like, there's no reason why he couldn't go, honestly. And if he doesn't get like some big, world-ending injury, there's no reason why he couldn't go for 2 or 3 more years. I'd love to see just how long he can go for, to be honest. Just see how long he sort of feels it. At the same time, we don't know what he's feeling. He might be sort of starting to really feel it in the mornings and kind of go, it's not really worth it anymore. He doesn't. If that's the case, he does not show it in the way he plays at all. And just on your point on he really knows how to use Olakwatu. To be fair, mate, my nan could use Olakwatu. Give him the ball and let him work. Like he just does. You don't need to know how to use him. He makes it easy. He's running at a straight line. You give him the ball, he scores. That's it. Done and done.
Yeah. Before we move on to the last game, I just want to say that short side play they did off the tap.
Oh,
let's keep it up. That was a thing of absolute beauty.
It wasn't just one. There was not just one. They did short side raids all day.
Things. That was great. Good. That short side that they've got, you got to stay awake. There's no falling asleep there. That's a good test to see if your side's on as well. If they're not sleeping on the edges there, that you're good. And one final note I put down, this is a huge point. I think this is something that the Manly Seagulls haven't been able to say for a long time. There was not a weak link in this side. And I know it's easy to say they were on the front foot majority, but I went through 1 to 17. There was not one player that stood out to me that had a below average game. I thought they all did their jobs perfectly. And as long as you're having that from your 17, doing their jobs, doing it well, you'll go far in this competition. So that was good to see.
What I want to see from them now, though, is to repeat that because the Cowboys didn't, if I'm being real, the Cowboys didn't throw anything at them. They did not throw anything at them all game. They had no reason to show you that there was a weak link or that there was some sort of issue. So until they get tested by a team that's actually going to throw something at them, to be honest with you, I'm not going to say I'm not convinced. Don't get me wrong. They played awesome. They played perfectly. But I just want to see that repeatedly to prove that is the case. And just quietly, I want to say that I think I don't remember where I put Cowboys on my ladder, but wherever it is, it needs to go further down because I'm not jazzed on them at all.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I might have to reconsider our ladder predictions and go back to them shortly because
maybe we should do an after round one. Now that we watch the game, maybe we should do a ladder prediction.
Oh, see just how drastic it changes. Last game on the list was today's Sunday blockbuster. The Melbourne Storm absolutely pumping the Eels, who are now on the list, cannot win the competition as well for 2025. Who would have thought in round one we've already got 2 teams, and to be honest, how the Cowboys avoided it, I'll never know. We should have had 3 for being serious about it. Look, let's just go firstly just on the Storm quick because it's going to be very quick on the Storm because, again, similar to Manly just then, can't see a weak link in that team today. They were absolutely sensational across the park. Granted, easy when you're versed in basically speed humps that you can just keep going. But for the Storm, that spine, let's just keep remembering that they haven't played much football together over the last few years. They can stay on the park here. And I'm not trying to make any excuses here. They're going to do this to so many teams out there because for being honest, there is this level up here where the Melbourne Storm and the Penrith Panthers sit. There's a fair few steps below them, and then there's just a cliff, and then there's some teams. They'll do that to the cliff teams almost anytime they verse them, because no one will be those cliff teams, and there's probably 7 or 8 of them, will not be able to keep up with that sort of performance. And that spine when it's on, Pappy was so dangerous. Munster just looks like he's in that mood to go, I'm the top 5'8" in this game. I want to have that mantle back, and I want to become one of the better playmakers in this game as well, top 3. And he wants that mantle back as well. So for the Storm, absolutely sensational across the park. As I said, round 1, the streak does not end. They continue. Well done. Great performance. That's all I want to say on the Storm, Jake.
I want to say something. This Storm team, and I know they versed us, and I know we played like crap, but at the same time, I think they forced us to play like crap because they were at us from day dot. They were at us from the beginning. We didn't even look like, and I'm not pointing this. I am going to put this on us in a minute, but for now, I'm going to look at it from a Storm perspective. I think that these guys are reminding me of the 2021 Penrith Panthers, the year that they lost. So 2020, they lost to the Storm, right? And they were filthy. And then the year after that, they started the dynasty, right? The year after that, they basically said, like, we don't ever want to feel that again. And they were one of the first teams, to, after losing a grand final, sort of pop back up the next year and go, no, haha, we actually know how to do this now. Let's go and do this. And the Storm, like we've talked about before, last year when they played in that grand final, they had a very inexperienced final side. They didn't actually have a lot of players who had played in a grand final. I think the exact same thing is going to happen here. And I think, I'm going to call it now, Storm win the comp this year off one game. Ooh. That's my call. I'm willing for you to put it anywhere you want. I don't care. Storm are going to win the comp this year.
Wow. All right. Now, I'm writing this down because I'll be using this.
Yeah, you go for it. Storm are going to win the comp this year for the same reason that the Panthers won it in 2021, is that they felt the pain of losing one with a lot of the players who hadn't been in one before. And I think that's the key difference in them over all the other teams right now, is that they have the team to win it, and they have the feeling still in them, burning like, nah, we could have won that last year, and we're not doing that again. We're going to win it this year. I really think that this is the team that will win the comp this year.
I'm not dismissing Penrith yet. I think
the
fact that I can't even envisage a Penrith team getting anything like that done to them by Melbourne, no matter how good Melbourne are and how bad Penrith are. I've got Penrith very much in this fight. I think it's, yeah.
They are. I'm not denying that, because I know that it's absolutely possible that Penrith could definitely get a 5-peat. I'm not denying that at all. But I'm just saying my gut feeling has the Storm winning the comp this year, and I'm calling it now.
I respect that. All right. Rip the Band-Aid off. Here we go. The Eels. Let's
break it down.
Any new listeners, any whatever. We are passionate Parramatta fans. We will try and, I don't know what we're going to do here, but
yeah. Can I kick it off? I'm willing to kick it off.
Go.
All right. I'm going to start off with the positives. Actually, I'm not going to start off with the negatives. All right.
One second first. I wanted to mention one sentence that for mine sums this game up. It is literally the first set from both teams. The Melbourne Storm, the kickoff, they get 55 meters off the opening set, which is just unheard of. The Eels' first set, 20 meters and a shitty kick. It's from there. I turned around to the missus and I said, we're done for. She's like, what are you doing, AJ? And I was like, we're done for. That was putrid. To start the game like that, no. Go. You're
absolutely right. I fully agree with you. But I'm still going to start on the positives. I'll let you have a crack at the negatives after if you want to be that guy. But I'll go at it too. But I want to start off with the positives, and there are two of them. Their names are Isaiah Iongi and Riley Smith. Right? These are the young kids who are coming up and have just come across. They're making their debuts for the club. And I want to say that I thought that they did a pretty good job. Like, realistically, Iongi, what's he supposed to do? In most of the time, he was in 2v1 situations, right? In defense, what's he supposed to do there? I thought that when he had the ball, he looked good. I thought that defensively, he did try to score, save a few tries. And so my questions around when Gutho left were, is Isaiah Iongi going to be able to sort of defensively match what Gutho did for us? And it looks like he will. And I know it's only early signs and whatever, but in terms of making those one-on-ones, he didn't. I don't think he missed one. Maybe he missed one or two, but those one-on-one tackles, he stopped Pappenhausen when he made I know he made a bad decision not to pass it, but he still made the tackle. Like there's other times where even Gutho would probably let him score there, to be honest with you. And I thought that he looked quite good. And I thought what a difference Riley Smith made when he came on. Don't get me wrong, we were still getting pumped, but I think that Riley Smith coming on slowed down the bleeding a little bit. And in the second half, he was on for almost all of that second half, and we won the second half. So in terms of those two specifically, the young players who I think will be the future of our club, I think I see positive signs already out of those two. And I'm gonna lead with that. I'm willing to talk about some negative stuff, but I want to see what positives you saw in the game first.
You know what's hard? I was very, very, very angry after this game. Like I was just gutted, absolutely gutted, because obviously we all know the rules. And I'm not saying we're premiership threats this year, but at least as a fan, you want to have that bit of hope. You want to try and carry that forward. There's excitement for this year. We've heard it from the club. They've sold us the dream. This is the plan. Then to have it ripped away in 80 minutes of football, actually, it was 40 minutes of football. It was literally, we knew it was going to be, we knew it was going to be, the list was coming out by about the 30-minute mark, which was so, I'm that gutted that it's so hard to find positives. And I get what you're saying with the young kids, and Iongi tried his heart out. Riley Smith did as well. And I feel for him because that's not an outfit or a club you want to come into making your debuts and stuff, and being a young player coming through. Like, I really do feel for him, but I just want to cut the bullshit, and I just want to say it that that's not a first grade standard performance today. That's not an NRL team. Feel a bit ashamed to be a fan at the moment, to be honest, because obviously seeing a little bit happening behind the scenes and stuff, it definitely looks like there is good things happening. But again, I have said this a couple of times. I've said the results on the field will be the big telling point and what fans will rightly point out, and they should. And I'm the first to say that wasn't it. That was not it. And
no.
I don't know where to start with this, but I'm actually gutted. Like I'm proper gutted that we're sitting here talking about it and saying season's done. Like the season's done. It's 1 week, the season's done.
Well, look, I want to say this, okay? Cameron Ciraldo, right? Brand new coach at the Bulldogs, came into a squad that, wasn't the squad he specifically wanted, came across, and they placed 15th in a year where there were only, I believe, 16 teams. So they came second last, right? And everyone at the time, because he came across from the Panthers, came across similar to Rolls' kind of story. He came across and there was all this, hype around him. He's going to be the savior of our club and all this sort of stuff. And he came 15th with a squad that wasn't his. Now, Rolls has come in and he's made some changes, same as Ciraldo did at the time. He's made some changes. He's made as many as he can with the preseason, right? At the same time, I think we all expected a little better, and we have all these new systems, but it's going to take time. We've had a preseason. Preseason, realistically, in the span of a season, doesn't mean as much as you kind of think it does. I think the reason I'm saying, yes, you're right, that was absolutely disgraceful. My boss messaged me, he goes, "Go Para," and I just said, "I'm not coming in tomorrow." So, he goes, "If you don't come in, we're going to have to do like a welfare check, make sure you're okay." Anyway, it was embarrassing. I've looked up some stats, and because I'm writing a thing and you know about it, but I've looked up a whole bunch of the stats, and the biggest issue we actually had, there's sort of two, but the main one is the forwards. Like our halves couldn't do anything. What are you supposed to do when you have no go forward? But at the same time, I kind of have to say a lot of people sort of said that they're sort of not blaming Dylan Brown much because, the forwards didn't have any go forward. Yeah, but you know what? You're at the time, Mitchell Moses wasn't here. He's the main half. Why were we doing 1-out hit-ups from our own line? Why was that all we could come up with? Dylan Brown should have been getting out there and making it a 2-pass, making it a bit wider, giving some space so that they actually had to, move the ball around a little bit and doing some shift. The way I see it is your main half is the one who needs to be doing that. And if Mitchell Moses was there, they would have been spreading the ball out more than they were. I'm not saying Mitchell Moses would have made every tackle that everyone else made. And our defensive efforts were crap. Specifically, if you want me to talk about somebody, I'll talk about Kelma Tuolangi. He looked like the laziest player I have seen play at Parramatta for a while, and that is saying something considering what we did last year. It was embarrassing to watch. And I'm pretty confident he got hooked. But then when Jack Williams got his head knocked, that's what he sort of got forced back onto the field, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure Rolls hooked him, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think he'll be in the team next week. Or if not, I don't think he'll be starting. So I'm very interested to see what happens there. No, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it at all. What did he do for us? He missed 2 tackles that led to tries. He dropped the ball like 3 times or whatever he dropped it. Like he just, I'm not trying to put all the blame on him because it isn't all his fault, but it started with him. That first one where Ryan Pappenhausen literally just turned slightly and ran straight, he just fell over. And it was a bit like, oh, okay, maybe the ground's not wet. It's a hot day. Like the ground's not wet. You're not slipping over because it's wet. You slipped over because you're big and you're lazy and you didn't want to make the effort to get to him. Like, I don't know. I thought, what was interesting to me? Joe Offahengawi played for 28 minutes. Our starting prop played for 28 minutes. I don't understand how that is. I don't understand that prop rotation.
There was a few things I didn't understand.
There was a few.
And I'm not going to. The thing is, I know Riles is there, but we were critical of a number of things that BA did last year. So I've got to be critical. I've got to be fair. I'm not going to just say it's all rosy and give him a pass mark. No, I'm going to hold him accountable for a few things he's done today. Firstly, Tuolangi, if Riles is serious, he wants to make a statement to this team, he drops in this week and he says, this isn't our standard. This isn't what the club is anymore. We do not carry people for the sake of it. You don't just get a jersey. You earn a jersey. You make sure whatever you do on that field in that 80 minutes is ensuring you have that jersey again next week. That's what should happen. And Tuolangi should be in reserve grade. First player that gets demoted. You're 100% right. The forwards were absolutely disgraceful from the get-go. They let the Storm roll down the field, as I explained before, in just from the first set, and then it didn't stop. We kept getting told throughout the offseason how fit they are and how much weight Junior's lost and things like that. Junior, for mine, was the exact same player. Like, the weight was lost. Okay, he looks different, but he didn't play different. Their forward pack, apart from probably Hopgood, just looked like they weren't there. They weren't a forward pack. They didn't want to do the hard work. They didn't want to take a hit. They didn't want to get the bruises. They took the easy option. The thing that pisses me off the most about this is it's round 1. And we have a new era. We keep getting told at the club it's a new era. It's Jason Riles. Have faith. Yeah, it's going to take some time, but it's round 1 after 2 really poor years after a grand final appearance in 2022. I thought this would be the game. Like, I knew the Storm would win. I think everyone out there knew the Storm would win this game, but at least put up a fight. Like, it looked like they went there honestly thinking to themselves, we've got no chance today. We've got no Moses. We've got a couple more injuries to a few of the players there. So we're not going to win. And that was like that's the mind frame they played in. And that, to me, was last year's mind frame. I thought we got away from that. I thought the whole club culture had changed. I'm being really honest here. I did not see one thing that suggests to me the club culture has changed. I see a lot of players who have just got a jersey for the sake of it. The fitness level, we went from, I watched that first trial game where we looked so fit to now we look like the most unfit team in the competition. How does that happen in a month of football? And how do we have an injury list of 9 players or something so far? What happened in these last 3 weeks at training? Were they going too hard? Are they out of puff already? Like, have they drilled him in the off season to the point where they're getting to games fatigued? Like, I don't know, but there's a lot of questions. Now, Dill Brown, I want to debate with you. I'm happy to debate here because It's not on him at all in this one. And I know what you're saying, but for mine, I said it about BA last year, and I've got to be honest again. Stop playing Dylan Brown as the number one half. He's not that. And I don't care about the crap that's happening with his manager and what the Knights are signing him for. We play him as a 5'8". We play him as his best football is literally just chiming around and getting it whenever he sees fit, making a break or stepping, doing the Dill Brown stuff. He's not the direct half. That should have been Volkman. And if I'm being honest, all the talk about Volkman, I know he's coming back from a big injury. He didn't cut it today. And if this was last year, we'd be giving it to whoever it was that was deputizing for Moses, saying lost control, blah, blah, blah. We've got to call a spade this time as well. Volkman, for mine, his kicking game was beyond reserve grade. Like, he was making 30 meters of kicking stuff. It was on the back foot from the get-go. Dylan Brown isn't a halfback. And I continue to say the Newcastle Knights have rocks in their head for giving him this contract. And if I was Dylan Brown and his manager, I would have signed that contract. And if I haven't already, I'm going to Newcastle tomorrow and I'm signing it because I am not a halfback. Give me the money, though. I'll take the money. I'll feed off the club for 10 years. He's a 5'8" every day of the week. He gets it. He needs an organising half. Those fans that were quickly to come out today and go, that's where the money side comes into it. And his manager's done him no favors whatsoever by doing all this, running it through the media, because his worth after this game today, it's about 650. It's quickly going down. It's not on him, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of players who let him down a lot today. And I think the coach has let him down because he's not that direct playmaker. He's not the halfback. He should not be made to feel like this team is his because it's not his style, and that is okay. I keep saying to people, look at like Munster, for instance, how he plays. He chimes in. He does all that sort of stuff. He's not a halfback, and he's never tried to be a halfback. He's the best at what he does for a reason, probably because he's been able to just establish himself as that player for so long. But I think we're pushing Dylan Brown too much.
Listen, I don't disagree with you in the slightest in anything that you've said, except for one. Ronald Volkman doesn't deserve to have that 7 on his back either. He's also more of a 5'8" than a 7 as well. And he's played 5 games of NRL, man. He's played 5 games of NRL in his life, and Dylan has played way more. So, yes, I understand what you're saying in the sense that Dylan isn't a half, but with Dean Hawkins out, who was supposed to be our backup half, Dean Hawkins is injured. He was supposed to be our backup half, and he would be the one in control of that team. With him out, it's actually not fair to Ronald Volkman on his first game back after a year off and only having ever played 5 games of NRL in his career to make him in control of this team. I don't see that as being fair at all. And Dylan, despite whether he doesn't want to or he's not good at it or not, is our experienced half that we had available in that game specifically. I understand the idea that we're not supposed to be pushing him to be a half. I don't disagree with you. I don't think he has it in him. But at the same time, it isn't fair, like I said, to make Volkman feel like because you know what? If the result happens whether Volkman's the organising half or not, the result happens the same. And how much worse does he feel as like I should have done better. And he should have done better. I don't disagree with you. There was more that he should have done in that game. But at the same time, it's not hard, right? I'm not saying that even Dylan had to, do all that much. All I'm asking for is, instead of having forwards one out running it, all I'm asking for him to do is be there as the first receiver so that they're getting it 2 passes out instead of 1. How hard is that? And all that's going to do is spread their defense just a little bit thinner, okay, and allow us to make more meters up the field as opposed to just running straight into 3 props in the middle of the field and just getting absolutely punished for it. I'm not asking for Dylan Brown to be this huge, incredible halfback. All I wanted from him today was a little bit of getting in there, being that first receiver, and just getting the passes out a little wider across the park. We just had nothing in terms of creativity. We had nothing. It was just give it to a forward. He'll run it. He'll be fine. And I think that even Dylan's better than that. I don't care about I don't give a crap about the contract. I don't give a crap about he's worth $1.3 million. I know he's not worth that. I could tell you that I could have told you that during the preseason. I can tell you that now. I could have told you that ages ago. He's not worth that because he can't organize a team. And I understand what you're saying with he should go and sign that contract right now because you know what? It's the best deal he will ever get in this sport. And I think he should probably go and sign it right now. But no matter what, even as a 5'8", you could be a first receiver. It isn't that hard. You go and stand there and you pass it one pass wider. Like, I could do that, and I don't get paid, $1 million a season to do that stuff. Like, it isn't that difficult.
It's the organising part, though, and that's what he doesn't have. He's not a talker. We know that now, and the club's going to continue to shoot themselves in the foot by putting that expectation on him, in my opinion, because he just simply isn't that player.
But they're not going to, I think. When Dean Hawkins back, he'll be a half until Moses is back. Yeah. I think he's only done a calf, and he should be back in like a week or two. And I'd rather him over Volkman at the rate that it is at the moment, because I think Volkman's a 5'8". I don't think he is a half. So I think we have. And it's the same problem. It's the same problem we had last year. Two 5'8s. We have two 5'8s playing again.
I'll say this finally. While Moses is out, we won't win a game. So 9-6 or whatever will literally be with the reality, I feel like, unfortunately for us Para fans, because I think his kicking game alone is that important to us. His organisation is that important to us. We've mentioned it as well. The forward pack really needs to pull their finger out and step up and make themselves accountable and make themselves first grade standard. Like, take it as an insider if you want. I don't care anymore. Like, I'm sick of these little excuses. I'm sick of him taking a pay packet from this club and feel like their jersey's expected. Like, cool, awesome. Like, you were good 2-3 years ago. What are you now? Like, show up. Stop just living off a pay packet and get down and dirty. Do the hard stuff. Get on the front foot. No one got on the front foot today. And yeah, it was a very poor performance.
Obviously, as you know, I'm writing a bit of a blog post for the Talking Power podcast. And one of the main things that I sort of said there was, it seems like every forward in it, well, not every, I'll exclude probably like maybe Jack Williams from this and maybe Sam Tuaviti today. And maybe, let's just leave it at those two for now. It seems like most of our forwards have a pass-first mentality, and I don't understand that concept. You are a forward. Your first primary thing is to go forward. That is in your name. I have a little quick stat for you that I thought you might find interesting, and this is one that I came across today. So Charlie Geimer had 6 runs for 45 meters across 67 minutes. All right. So first of all, that's embarrassing. But Sam Tuaviti had 5 runs for 47 meters. So one less run for more meters in 18 minutes. In 1/3 of the amount of time that Charlie Geimer was on that field. And I'm not, Charlie Geimer's just had a lot of talk about him, like, he wanted to leave the club and stuff like that because he wasn't getting a run or whatever it was. And he's come on, and in 67 minutes, he's managed 6 runs. So I think all the hype was there for him. I think that next week he needs to step that up. Otherwise, he is going to be the same. He needs to do better than that. I don't know. He's not the only one. I'm not just singling him out. It's just a stat that I saw that made me look at that and go like, wow, this young 19-year-old is absolutely showing all of you up.
Yeah. Nah, it's the stats are there. It is as disappointing that the forward pack just simply isn't there. It was my big worry heading into the season. It still hasn't changed. We're gonna go. We're done. This is taking the air out of me. This has got me. I was so pumped before we got. I knew it was lucky. It was the last game. So, in Gutho, we miss you. We miss you a lot. Brother, come back, please. But yeah, that was a great round of footy. Apart from that last game, which Storm supporters will be cheering for. Great round. A lot of talking points out of it, as we've seen. Huge episode. Hope you appreciate it. Hit the like button. Add some comments in. Let us know what you think about the this weekend's results. Para fans, vent. Roosters fans, vent. Cowboys fans, vent, and maybe apologise to us. I don't know. Up to you. Wherever you want to take it. If you want to keep having pot shots, do it. How good is it? Footy's back. We're back. Tuesday night live show. Bring it on. Make sure you're following us to get notification when we do go live. 8 o'clock, Queensland time, 9 p.m. New South Wales, and Wednesday for the Supercoach. Jake, thank you. Big one tonight.
No worries.
Go and get some rest. And
it's
again,
now
Southeast
10:42 for me.
Go and get to bed. Again, Southeast Queenslanders, get through it. We're on sort of the final hurdle, I feel like, and then it's a big clean-up job. We'll all get together, get it done. But bye for now. Thanks for enjoying it.